on already. Welcome back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I can't believe we're back. It's been forever. I mean, 2 months, but still.
Well, that's in the internet world, that's forever.
We never took 2 weeks off in a row, let alone 2 months.
Yeah.
I didn't want to come back.
We're in new digs. Jamie begged me, please, do we have to keep doing this stupid show?
Yeah.
Can you just let it go, Kevin?
Yeah.
Who cares? She said. Who cares?
Who cares?
Right? My mom.
These
Your
are
mom.
My family, they care.
Watching right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me.
Uh-oh.
You know what my sister said to me the other day, yesterday?
Why are you gonna
know
do
what
it?
Kevin needs to do? He needs to get on a TV show.
Did I tell a story? My brother was.
But she was, and that's why I started laughing, because this is what your brother said about how
You do need to get on it. Do
I'm-
that.
I'm in,
Make a phone call.
I'm in LA, having risen to the top of the stand-up scene in San Francisco. I moved to LA, almost 30 years ago. Next year it'll be 30 years. And I'm here 6 months. And my brother from San Jose, California. There's your buffering. I just had to see if they were on it.
Yeah, seriously.
My brother from San Jose, California says, you know what you need to do? You need to get on the Tonight Show with Carson. Thank you.
Yeah.
I hadn't considered that.
Yeah.
Genius. That's what I should
That's
do.
what you're doing
I should
wrong.
stop masturbating in the apartment. Sammy,
Yeah, buddy.
speaking of, what happened?
How dare you?
Did you have a lovely holiday back east with
The best!
Eve's family?
Yes.
I understand you had your first Christmas. Love to hear about it.
It was my actual first Christmas morning.
People know you're a Muslim, so they understand.
That's true. Well, with a last name like Levine, kind of follows me around.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I'm unimpressed.
You're what?
I'm unimpressed.
Unimpressed.
Yeah.
Because of the anticlimactic nature?
Yeah, it all leads
Lot
up
of
to this
build-up
one-
and then opening and
this
then-
one morning. Come on. Here's the thing with Hanukkah. Here's why Hanukkah kicks
spoiled for
Christmas
8
ass.
days.
All right. So let's say second night of Hanukkah, you're not impressed with the gifts.
Third night.
Third night even, you go.
They're problems.
Hey, I thought I was going to get the
pattern is
new
developing.
computer.
Yeah.
Where's my new tuxedo?
My new tuxedo.
I asked for very high-end items at Hanukkah. And your folks, let's say they think, oh crap, I didn't know he wanted that. They still have 5 days
Sure.
to go out and right their wrongs.
You cannot.
Christmas morning,
You're
it's
fucked.
all or nothing.
Yeah.
It's either there under the tree or Santa's a fat asshole who fucked it up again. That's why I think Hanukkah is kind of superior, but I did have fun. Eve's family was lovely.
Uh-huh.
They were very sweet for inviting me into their home to celebrate that special morning with them, and I'm grateful for that.
Were you what Grammy Hall would call a real Jew?
Maybe.
I mean, is that how they look at you? They see the face and the...
Yes. Yes, they expect me that I'm carrying around a little pocket Torah. I'm going to rip it out at any second.
Sure.
Yeah.
While we were gone, I did a movie called Saving Santa,
Really?
where I played this despicable senator from this good state of Arizona.
Or as I say, Jew curmudgeon.
Jew curmudgeon. I was
The Jew
Schmucker,
curmudgeon.
Senator Schmucker,
Yeah.
with a name like Schmucker. I had to be good. So it's kind of cool. The movie's about the little girl and her family. I just play the senator who gets the teachings of Santa Claus, gets a bill passed in the Senate, teachings of Santa Claus removed from the schools and from culture because it sets up too great of a lie between children and their parents. Many children never get over this devastation, that their parents have been lying to them. What the fuck?
Right.
For the last 3-4 years, now I find out you're capable of this just bold face.
Yeah.
No, he's there. He's there.
Yeah.
A lot of kids don't get over that. So I actually get this passed to the Senate, and then the little girl and her family have to save Santa.
That sounds. I actually just finished shooting the sequel.
Did you?
Saving the Tooth Fairy.
Saving the Tooth Fairy. Jamie already made the sequel. You don't remember? Shaving Santa.
Shaving Santa.
He shaves his beard, and he walks among us. And he decides who's worthy and
I
who's
said
not.
that.
Who's getting a lump of coal. I love that as a sequel. I pitched it to him. We're
I forgot I made that.
waiting. Shaving Santa. They said, we love the idea, we don't think we can use the title. Because it sounds a little Britney Spears.
Well.
Dr. Chen is just back within 12 hours from the Taiwan, where you were for a month?
There for a month.
A month. Seeing the family, my moms, my pops.
Did you go through quarantine when you got back?
I sure didn't.
You did not. All right. I'm gonna have to seal off this room.
Well,
We're gonna need
it's
to
somewhat
bring-
quarantined now. I wish we had a camera to kind of do a little 360 to show you just how much larger the new digs are.
Yeah. It's been great.
I'm very happy. It only took 2 months,
Well,
technically speaking. But we are in new digs.
And
We're
still no
very-
ice maker.
Still no ice maker. Really? Unbelievable.
Well, all I want to know is if they're not
mad
going to use
fucking
it, can I
green.
have it? That's what I want to know. If they're not going to hook it up, can I have
You
the ice
offered to
maker?
buy it.
I know, I did offer
In the
to buy
auction
it.
of all things Mahalo as it was being moved out the door.
I want the ice maker.
I want to take this time to thank the fine folks of Lexington, Kentucky, where I've just returned from. Not a month, and yet it seemed at times.
well,
Was there at the Comedy Off Broadway, and as Sam, you were kind of to point out, way off Broadway. As it
Way,
turns out.
way
If you're in Lexington, Kentucky, you're technically nowhere near Broadway. But they run a great room there, and the staff, Jordan, the guy who owns the place and runs it, is fantastic, and really had a great time. So thanks to everyone who works there for giving me such a wonderful weekend. Even though I picked myself up a little gastrointestinal and internist problem. How do you say it?
gastrointestinal
Thank you, sir.
issues.
Uh-huh.
We hang on the chat room really wants to know more, Kevin. If you could go into greater detail.
Greater detail?
No.
All right. No? No. Okay. It's a gassy pressing feeling where there's no gas.
Really?
But it still feels like there's gas pressing. That's what it was. Like I blew up down
This episode has now turned into actual conversations you and I have on the
Dr.
phone.
Oz.
Yeah. You and I will call each other and describe the bloke.
These are Jew conversations.
Yeah.
Old Jew conversations.
We're back, and we'll be. If you go to the chat show's site web schedule, you'll see all the upcoming shows. I think the fabulous Krumholtz
David Krumholtz.
is here next week, and then we have we're booked kind of through the middle of March. So check out the upcoming shows. We're going to be coming back as we were live every Sunday, 3 o'clock on the West Coast, and you do the math where you are. We do have folks writing to us from all over the damn planet, which is kind of cool. We ask you to participate in the show, if you will, you sons of bitches. Write us at contact@kevinpollak'schatshow.com. No C in Pollock, you idiot. Contact@kevinpollak'schatshow.com. And what we're looking for is Ask Kevin. Any questions you want to know of me, Sam Jamie, Dr. Chen, anybody. J-Max got answers. Ask him a fucking question. So, there you go. And then also, don't forget to submit your Larry King games to win a possible T-shirt. Should I use it on the show? We didn't. I'll be honest with you, I didn't get any winners today. No. Had some stinkeroos. I love that everyone goes into Larry King's canal. That's the go-to on the Larry King game from our. That's our demographic.
Right.
I woke up this morning with Little John in my asshole. Why?
Did you know that they make dildos with 2 sides now? I grew up in a simpler time.
Had to use a man's fist, even if you didn't know him. That's what we're looking for, people. Get your minds out of Larry's ass and write in a Larry King game so we can use it. We do have some Ask Kevins, though. This first one is from Martin Pashier.
Martin Bashir?
Pashier.
Oh, with a P.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin. Hey, look at that. We got a graphic. It's been 2 months.
Nope,
Does
still not
anyone
ready.
remember how to do this?
Still not ready.
Oh, God almighty. I am going to take weeks to come back. Hey, Kevin, PCS. He's doing the KPCS, yeah. Love the show, great interviews, and interesting stories. I always love your intro monologue, too, which brings me to my Ask Kevin entry. I know you love movies, TV, and stand-up, and are just a big fan of art in general. But I was wondering what genre of music you love most. Also, interested in what Sam, spelled correctly, and Jamie's, spelled correctly, favorites are. Sincerely, Martin P., drummer, The Netherlands.
Is that a band?
No.
That's it.
Is that a band? I'm celebrating that we're worldwide, and he's giving me, is that a band?
The Netherlands is a great name for band, for what it's worth.
Is it?
Yeah.
How's Poughkeepsie?
Not as good. Not as
The
catchy.
Poughkeepsie. Sammy,
Yeah, buddy.
please tell Mark what kind of music you're into. What do you love?
What is it called? Thug rap? No. I'm a classic rock guy.
You are a classic
Yeah.
rock guy. Everyone knows this about you.
Yeah, I think the
You have a nice album collection, a signed album.
Yes, he does.
I think it started to get really good around '66, and then it just got really awesome. Led Zeppelin throughout the '70s, and then it pretty much died around '79.
79 was the death for
That
you
was it.
of the classic rock?
As soon as Funky Town came out by Lips Incorporated,
Funky
I
Town
went,
is a
I'm
pretty
out.
Aussie song.
I am out. Music just signaled its
66
demise.
to 79.
There, 66 to 79.
Please be more specific. All right, Jamie,
Okay, I'm all
anyone
over,
who knows you,
I'm all over the place with my music taste.
well, you're Miss 80s.
My ultimate favorite genre is 80s new wave, which is very specific.
Yeah.
So we're talking like Depeche Mode, Smiths, Cure, Tears for Fears. That's my favorite. Peter Gabriel, Howard Jones, Talking Heads, Echo and the Bunnymen. Those are my favorites. And I have most of these on vinyl. And then I also, contemporary, I like indie rock. And, but I also love 60s pop and 60s soul.
Is this for your video dating profile?
I know. But, so those are
Yeah.
that's my genres.
Yeah, the
but I also
80s
but I love 60s pop music and
You do.
60s soul. So
You do.
because I love like the Monkees and the Beach Boys, but I also love like the Four Tops and Temptations. So it's so
You're
that's-
varied. You're varied.
I'm
You're
varied. Mm-hmm.
diversified. There's nothing wrong with that. If only you had a big birthday coming up where a very popular, successful 80s DJ was going to be spinning the 80s.
All my favorite jams.
That's all we're going to say for now. My answer is the indie rock. I will dare say I grew up during the classic rock that Sammy's talking about, which I loved like crazy. And now the indie rock scene, I believe, is giving it a run for its money, if not kicking its ass. Indie rock bands today, the scene is explosive. And what's also nice is that they're sort of self-produced, and I like that aspect to it a lot. But we got some great fucking bands. Jamie of which saw several of them at a big show at the amphitheater, right? Who'd you see?
It was K-Rock's Almost Acoustic Christmas. I'm going to try my best to remember because it was awesome. It was
Foster the People.
Foster the People, Mumford & Sons, Black Keys, Group Love, Florence and the Machine, she's amazing.
Right.
Death Cat for Cutie. I think that's,
And the one you walked out on.
Jane's Addiction.
Yeah, nice.
It didn't.
The only 80s band.
I
The
didn't-
only band who had any material produced in the 80s you walked out on. You were a waffler.
We
young
went
lady.
there for 6 hours.
Meanwhile, how was Jane addicted for 30 years? That's my question. Jane's Addiction had a song in the 80s. What's her addiction?
They had many addictions.
Oh, Cage the Elephant, too. Sorry,
Yes.
I love them, too. So I'm trying to think of what was all there.
Kenny, ask him to run over and make sure that the AC is pumping. It's feeling warm already, and we've been in here 4 minutes. Could be my illness. Okay. This last Ask Kevin is from Keith Brown. Dear Kevin, have you ever done or considered doing your characters in the setting of a news broadcast? For instance, he's writing me a bit, this guy. James T. Kirk as the lead anchorman, Peter Falk as the investigative reporter, Alan Arkin sports, Christopher Walken weather, Reverend Jim traffic. Roll that back, if you would. This is not the worst idea I've ever heard.
Well, you read it on the air. You have to give this guy credit now.
Tonight's lead story is from New Hampshire, where no one gives a shit about Romney. We've got a man on the street, our investigative reporter, Peter Falk. Let me just say this, if I may. I can't get anything out of anybody about Romney. They all like this Ron Paul. Myself, I'm waiting him to break into Ross Perot. I know it's coming. Thank you, Peter, on the street. And now, let's hear what the first Sunday of NFL playoffs is like. Alan Arkin, sports. I understand. Why are half these teams here? They're no good. Houston, really? That's a team? How is that a team, Houston? They got barbecue, strip clubs. It's not a football team, Houston. I don't care for it. I'm not gonna. They won. I don't care. I'm not gonna watch it. Thank you again for that top-notch coverage of sports. And now, what you've all been waiting for, of course, weather and traffic. That's why people tune in, of course, to the nightly news. Locally, anyway. Chris Walken with the weather. Boy, it's nice. It's clear skies. It makes me want to dance. That's the feeling I get when the skies are clear. Blue skies. That's what it is. That's when I want to dance, when they're shining on me. You know the words. Sing it with me. What? Apparently it's clouded. I got it wrong. Thank you, Chris. Welcome back. And lastly, traffic with Reverend Jim. What year is this? It's jammed. There you go. There you go. The traffic is jammed. Just a thought. I know you're not a jukebox, he continues to write, and I will now go fuck myself. You got it straight, sir. P.S. Love the show. Thank you for that, and you're fired. Okay. I think we've wasted as much time as possible. This is not one of our Gurin Brothers hats because I did just come back from the Kentucky and didn't have time for a great many things.
I only had to circle the airport 4 times. I don't know what you're talking
thank
about.
God we didn't cover that story. But I can't wait to go out to Gurin Brothers this coming week, actually, and sport one of their chapeaus. But on the plane, I got a little creative, started writing our guest intro today, and starting to feel a little Edward R. Murrow, which I did not know was in my wheelhouse, but here goes. My guest today grew up on the rough and tumble, often terrifying streets of Youngstown, Ohio. The oldest of 5, a father a truck driver and steel worker, mother a social worker. And so, why don't I let it you, the brave, thoughtful audience, draw your own conclusions as to just what sort of hellish home he grew up in. Although he would one day show promise as a defensive end on the gridiron at the university level, his tryout with the nearby Pittsburgh Steelers proved once and for all that a future in the arts was considerably more appropriate for such a dandelion as he turned out to be. Perhaps then, if one were to spend time following the bouncing ball-like trajectory of his life, it comes as no surprise that he would ultimately gain considerable notoriety, if not historical in TV terms, as a life-weary, callous shoe salesman of a father, often bellowing his utter lack of satisfaction with his family and or lot in life. However, massive fame he did enjoy, as his so-called antithesis to the sanitized TV dads of the 1980s, offering up his own version of proof positive each week by shoving and then positioning his hand down his front of his pants. A not-so-subliminal signal, one wonders, to fathers everywhere that he was one of them and that their day of reckoning had in fact arrived. For 10.5 seasons, were you whispering his mic's not hooked up? What was that? Oh, okay. For 10.5 seasons, he and his television program, Married with Children, ruled the airways and without debate put the previously fledgling Fox network on the map to stay. One could hypothesize. My guest today personally contributed more to the foundation and construction of the uncountable vast wealth of one Rupert Murdoch, a media overlord whose power and control of our very lives, if not thoughts, is still being uncovered by the minuscule amount of media he's yet to seize. Post the uber-famed and fortune of portraying the lovable louse Al Bundy, he would establish himself continually as a top-notch thespian on the big screen as well as a Broadway stage. In 2009, he reclaimed his throne in television, where he currently resides every Wednesday night on the American Broadcasting Company, and yet another questionably respectable father and husband on the program Modern Family. Said runaway train hit show has garnered literally dozens of awards to date, including Best Comedy 2 years running by the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, as well as 5 Golden Globe nominations, which, as we're all aware of by now, can be obtained with the simple promise of considerable amounts of booze, a case of Kansas City prime steaks, between 200 and 500 euros, and 7 occasions, shall we say, of fellatio to completion. We are honored to have him here today. Please welcome Mr. Ed O'Neill. I got carried away. I had no idea.
That's some intro.
And now we're done, though. That's the good news.
Done. Nice to be here, Kevin.
Oh, we're so happy.
Well,
For my first question, actually, if I may be so bold, how proud are you when people remind you that we appeared together in Wayne's World 2, although no scenes together? We're both in the film.
You know,
you were in 1 and 2, right? Wayne's
I
World?
was in 1 and 2.
Yeah.
1 and 2. I didn't know you were in it. I don't
I'm
think
sure.
I'm honestly.
You haven't seen the film?
Well, I've seen it, but it's been a long time, and I don't think I watched it carefully. But
Carefully.
But I was a huge fan of yours before.
What the?
Way back.
We should
With
make
you.
sure his mic is working if he's going to start complimenting you. Is it okay?
All the Carson shows, and when you were doing those appearances, and I loved all those impressions. That
Yeah.
You still do. Yeah. I mean, the Duvall was the first time I'd ever seen anyone do Duvall.
Well, that's crazy because I haven't done it that often, but you happen to catch one of the times.
Yeah. I really always, every time you come on, I got to watch him. He'll do these impressions. And walking is just superb.
Well, that's crazy, yeah.
You know, I worked with him.
Now, before you finish that, they're putting up on the screen to have you just center it in the center of the t-shirt neck. If you could just adjust it slightly to the center.
This might be a problem for me.
This will be fun. This is fun television, by the way. Trust me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Center,
Yep.
here.
Can you step in there and help him out?
I think you want to get right in there, Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, get on camera.
Jump.
Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Chen. You remember him from Taiwan, if you're watching us from there. He was the guy that was face down in his own vomit and urine at half the bars in town.
There's, I worked with him on a movie called The Dogs of War.
Oh.
I think we shot that in 1980 in, my part, New York and Miami. And
Right.
They went to Belize. But, you know, he's quite a character. You know Chris?
I do.
Yeah.
I've had several run-ins now. And did you happen to see him in the play in New York, the last one, the
No.
Behanding in Spokane?
No,
We were
no.
fortunate enough to go, and holy crap, that was a tour de force.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
He's a wonderful actor. He's done a lot of stage work, as you know.
yeah.
Quite a bit. But
I started as a chorus boy, actually.
Well, he graduated, Gypsy Rose Lee gave him the diploma or something like that.
Yeah, all right.
PS 101.
Did you
something.
have any work with him, or just you? And
Yeah, I had 3 scenes with him, and it was my second movie. I think my first one was with Mr. Pacino in Cruising.
I'm going to suggest Deliverance was your first, sir.
No, I wasn't in it.
What?
Everyone thinks that I was in that movie.
It's
and I
on
wasn't.
every piece
It's
of
on
research
everything
about
that
you.
I've ever done, and I was never in it. No.
Because they shot it near your hometown, maybe.
No, it was shot in Tennessee or
What the
something.
fuck?
I don't know where they shot it, but that's always been a mystery to me. People
I
always
love
say,
that-
"Oh, you did Deliverance," and that's why. And now I say yes, I did. Usually I do
Right.
say yes.
I was Ned Beatty's stand-in.
Yeah.
Just for
Yeah,
rehearsals.
but no, I never did it.
Oh. So Cruising with Pacino.
Cruising with Pacino.
And you said you are friends with a previous guest here, Titus Williver, who,
Yeah.
of course, brings Pacino to life from 3 different eras.
Wonderful.
Did you guys work together?
I worked with him. We
Apple?
did the David Milch Big Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured as much.
Yeah.
Milch likes him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uses them and everything. And so that's where I met him.
Was Big Apple the first time you worked with Milch?
Yes.
Now, why do I
Yes.
think Mamet had something...
Mamet I've worked with many times.
Right, but never in a TV thing. I thought there was.
I
No?
did the unit.
The unit.
I did one of the unit, but
Right.
Mamet did something from, I think he did an NYPD Blues. He met Milch through that, and then,
Right, that's what it was.
but
you
I've
guys,
worked with both of them
you met Mamet originally, I guess, doing...
in New York.
And was it not Connecticut? Do you
Well,
think?
yeah, we went up to Long
Lake
Wharf.
Boat?
Lake Boat, yeah.
Right.
Which I've done twice.
Right. You went back
Yeah,
and did it again, which
I
I
did.
thought was fantastic.
Well, what happened was the original play at Long Wharf, I did the Pier Man, which was the guy who opens the show, and you know the construction guy with the
Right.
pad and pencil. And then later, when Joe Mantegna was going to direct it, he said, "Why don't you play the Larry Shue role?" You know, Larry Shue had done that with me. I
Right.
mean, I was in that play. Larry Shue was great. And I said, "Joe, I can't do Larry Shue." Now I eventually said, yes, I'd do it. And so the rehearsal started, and I was imitating. I mean, I was doing my impression
Right.
of Larry Shue.
Right.
And Larry was doing a southwestern Polish Milwaukee accent.
Holy crap.
And it was something like, Mr. Collins, how far is it to land out here? You know, it was something like that.
Yeah.
And I was doing that, you know, and finally Joe pulled me over and said, you know, Ed, you can just be yourself, you know. I said, thanks, Joe. Okay.
That was a fun moment for you.
Yeah, so it worked out, though. We had a good time doing that.
Oh, yeah.
And I love Larry Shue. I mean, he was like, you know, amazing.
So when you did the first production up in Connecticut,
Yeah.
Mamet was around.
Mamet was around a lot.
And that's how you guys kind of got...
Yeah, we became friends, and he was going back and forth to Boston because he was working on The Verdict with, you know, Lumet
Yeah.
and Paul Newman.
Right. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So then he'd come back there and mess around, write a few scenes, you know.
Right. And you guys became friends.
We became friends, and you know, over the years I've done a number of things with him. Nothing huge, just I did a play at the Kirk Douglas
Right.
in Culver City.
You're in Red Belt.
Well, I'm in one little tiny thing. I was supposed to do a larger role. I couldn't do it, so I showed up and did a day. But
You couldn't or you refused to?
I couldn't. I did Spanish Prisoner.
Right.
And I did
Boy, I love that.
I did the other one too with Val Kilmer.
Spartan.
Spartan, thank
Yeah.
you.
No problem.
And that was fun.
Can we talk a minute about
Yeah.
Steve Martin as a dramatic actor? I thought he pulled it off.
I thought he was great.
Yeah.
I thought he was really, really good.
Spanish Prisoner we're talking about, and
Yes.
and it was beautifully written, but I thought he really
I thought he was. I
held
thought
his own.
He was as good as he could be. He was wonderful.
How naturally did you take to Mamet's cadence? This question has come up a few times on the show when I had Montaigne here, of course.
Yeah.
Because, in fact, I often sort of ape it as a way to, someone will bring something up and I'll say, you know, if this were a Mamet conversation, it would be, do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'm saying to you, what, do you understand? This thing that I'm trying to get across, these words that I'm using, you hear them, don't you? You know what they mean.
Yeah.
So it's.
I've always said. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's just a new version of Shakespeare.
It is sort of iambic pentameter, isn't it? But I mean, I think it's for sure not meant to be done that way.
He just wants you to say the words.
I don't think, even if he wants me to say the words, I'm not going to say them that way. And I think that if you see, for example, some of the actors that he'll put in his various pieces that are like students, for example, at his school, or oftentimes, you know, they'll do it like that because they're so worried about every pronunciation, and it's okay to honor that, but you've got to make it sound like you're making it up. You know,
Right.
It can't be that way.
Right. Yeah.
No. And I think all the guys who, like Joe, J.J. Johnston. Now,
Right.
see, here's the thing. J.J. Johnston and Jack Wallace, it's more or less a kind of a Damon Runyon type thing. You know,
Right.
he learned that. He had the ear for that when they were having those all-night card games in Chicago. And, for example, Johnston would say, "Oh, I do not think, sir, that is correct, if you follow my drift."
Yeah.
You know, now that, if you write that out, and you might read it a different way.
Right.
But
Right.
it certainly wouldn't sound like that, you know, which is how those guys actually talk.
Right. So when you were working with him that first time, was he a stickler for?
Oh, yeah. And it was my first, you know, I mean, I begged to get into to audition.
Right.
And it was Debbie Brown casting in New York, and I knew her. I'd done a couple things with her, and I showed up because my agent said, "They're not seeing you because they're only seeing guys he knows."
Right.
So I went to Debbie, and I'd never done this before. I said, "Debbie, I got to get in, you know," because, you know, I had been sort of doing this stuff with another friend of mine, and shouldn't do
No,
that.
you're okay.
And anyway, she said, "Well, I don't think so, but you know, wait, I'll ask him." And he's in there, and then he said, "Yeah, come back." So and so. So I went in, and he was sitting with the director, John, can't think of his name, and he's my age.
Yeah.
You know, basically. So he said, "Oh, so you know, so you showed up, and what do you want to do?" I said, "Anything." He said, "Anything? What does that mean? I mean, what part are you interested in?" I said, "I'll play any of them, all of them." He said, "You play all of them. How about this guy? How about you play the Pier Man? It's the only fucking one I haven't cast yet, and it's not the lead anyway." So it's like,
Yeah.
and then I got the part.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Pretty nice.
How about you do the Pier Man, you know, for starters? But the guy's amazing, you know.
Yeah.
So
I know that when I mentioned Red Belt, it reminded me that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Jiu-Jitsu is
Right.
correct. Yes.
Has been a part of your life for a
Yes.
long, long time.
Yes.
I know a
Yes.
version of martial arts were a big part of Mamet's life. Does have been.
Well, I got him started.
Ah.
Yeah. When we did Spanish Prisoner,
Right.
he said, "You know, I understand you know you're doing this jiu-jitsu. What's that all about?" You know. So I told him, and then I showed him a couple things, and he said, "Oh, I got to check that out." So that's how he got started. Not with my guys, because his office was in Santa Monica there, and I said, "Well, there's a guy, Renato Magno, right down the street. You could walk." Well, so that was it. And he loves it. I mean, he's like crazy about it. That's why he did Red Belt and.
Right. I figured
You know,
he had to have
yeah.
a huge influence
Yeah, he just loves it.
in his life, and you're the one that turned him on to it.
I got him started. Yeah.
That's got to make you feel pretty
Yeah,
good that
yeah.
it went as far as it did with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you turned on a lot of people over the years. How did you get started?
John Milius got me started.
The director?
It was a, yeah. I knew John. We were on the same lot. Somehow we met. I don't remember. He used to have fights. He used to do pay-per-view, and you know, he'd invite people over to his office. So I was over there, and then he said, "I do this jiu-jitsu and Torrance with this Gracie family from Brazil. You've got to meet these guys. It's Hickson, Gracie, you know. I said, John, the guys with the pajamas, you know, I don't want to, and it's in Torrance.
No.
You need a motel. You drive out there, you got to get a room. You know what I mean? I'm doing the show. I'm busy.
Is this on the Fox lot?
Yeah.
Right.
And so no, I'm sorry. It was Sunset Gower at the time. So anyway, he hounded me for like 2 years. And finally I said, yeah, 2 years.
You wouldn't let it go.
I wouldn't go. And I said, I play handball at Venice Beach.
Right.
That's what I was doing. He says, listen, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. He said, no, I'll pick you up. It's a 20-minute drive. I said, no, I'll meet you there. Give me the address. Because I wanted to be able to get out.
Yeah, of course.
So I show up and I see him in there with this guy, you know, very good-looking, tall, dark man, thin guy. And they're rolling around in pajamas, you know. And I thought, I don't know what, I don't get it,
Right.
you know. So thank you. And
Sure.
so, long story short,
No.
the place was clean. That was the thing that I was impressed with.
That mattered a lot.
Very clean.
Sure.
And so now they come out, and you know, John is big.
Yeah.
Milius, very big guy, sweating, and introduces me to Jorge and Gracie. And I was struck by the fact that he barely shook my hand. It was almost like the thing, you know, on the street we used to call it the dead hand.
Sure.
And it was sort of an insult. But
Right.
he took the whole hand. It was just no pressure. I thought, that's kind of weird. Anyway, I said, listen, pleasure to meet you. Heard so much about you. And this ran a little bit over for me. I kind of got to go. But I think the place is amazing. And no, yeah, you have to do that. I want a free class for like 15 minutes. I said, geez, I really, no, get him a size 6. Come on, go in there. It's a gi. You put it on, you come out. So I'm back there putting it on, and I'm cursing Milius, you know. And
You want to set him on fire.
I don't want to do it, you know. So I come out, and I remember he said, now I want you to lay down on your back.
You're thrilled with
please.
this.
Okay, I lay down. He said, I'm going to sit on top of you. Now this guy weighs about 170 pounds. I'm like 230 or something, and this is 20 years ago. He said, I'm going to sit on top of you, and I want you to imagine that maybe you come out of your bedroom, and now you hear a noise, and the bad guy's in the hall, and you trip, and he sits on top of you. Ed, if your life depended on it, how could you get me off of you? You know, your children are in the next room. I said, if my life depended on it, you know, I'm thinking, you know, I'm 50 pounds bigger than this guy. I said, I think I could probably get you off. I don't know after that what would happen. That's all I want you to do. That's it. That's it. Whenever you're ready, go ahead. So I think, all right, I'm going to get him off, you know. So I think I grabbed his hips and I bucked my hips up. You know what I mean?
You made the obvious choices.
I made an obvious choice. And now I'm going to say 12 seconds later, I'm exhausted.
And he's still on you.
He's still on me.
Hasn't moved.
I can't get him off. So he said,
Is he wrapping legs around
he
you?
hooked the legs, somehow he grabbed the back of my neck, and he was sort of on me like a tick, you know. I can't get him off, so now I'm exhausted. So he says, okay, lucky but good, I think. So breathe, go ahead and breathe a little bit. And I think I got to get out of here. And he says, okay, now I'm going to lay down. You sit on top of me. So I do. And he says, now I'm also ready to say, no, I can't. You know, I can't. He said, now, do you think you could just hold me down for 4 seconds?
Little fucker.
I was going to say no, but now I think 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, 4 seconds. That's it. 4 seconds. Get a good grip. So now I'm going to prove this little prick wrong, right? And I grab him, and he says, "Come on, Ed, like a man."
Oh no, no!
And basically, he was setting me up, as you know.
Do you know you played ball?
I'm thinking I play pro football. This little skinny guy cannot keep me from going up. And I grab him and go, boom, and I'm on my back. He's on top of me.
In 4 seconds.
In 1 second, he was, hedging his bet. I'm on my back, he's on top of me, and he's smiling at me, and I said, how'd you do that? He said, well, this is what we do. I said, okay, sign me up. He said, oh, okay, we'll sign you up. I said, no, seriously, sign me up. I'll be here. When's the next class? You could come tomorrow, but, and then he started saying, come on, Ed, we get actors all the time, they come in, they amuse themselves, but they don't stick with it. I said, sign me up, we'll see. 20 years later, I'm still going there.
To Torrance.
To Torrance. They've moved academies. Now they're on, Artesia, but it's the same group.
You got an apartment there instead of the
I
hotel
got an
room.
apartment. I can stay over. It is amazing. And it took me I think it took me 16 years to get the black belt.
Is it '07 you got the black belt in, according to the
Yeah.
dossier?
Yeah.
Is it about those kind of maneuvers? Is a lot of it about getting in and out of trouble?
It's about the
I mean, it's obviously controlling the spirit and all of those things as well.
no, that has nothing to do with it, by the way.
Fantastic.
You'd be happy to know. It's basically...
By the spirit, I meant my mother.
Oh, well. It's basically a martial art that's designed for smaller people
Love it.
to survive a bigger, stronger, more athletic attack.
Right.
This is not like tournaments. This is like the Survivor Street confrontation. So that, you know, oftentimes people say, oh, you're a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belt, you kick anybody's ass. I said, no, no, no. The idea is not to lose,
Just to get out of trouble.
not to get hurt.
Right.
So it's much like a Muhammad Ali who really just sort of, you know, played around for a while before he, you know, the guy was so tired he would then pick him apart. So it's kind of like defend the attack, and then if the guy's so stupid or he does something out of frustration,
Right.
sometimes they'll give you something, you know, dumb. And then you can choke them or you can arm lock them or you can, you know, various submission
Right.
maneuvers, yeah. But the trick is to learn to relax, you know, to breathe, so that your energy level, when the fight starts, if you're here and they're burning down, he's here and you're still here. You know what I mean? That's the idea anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Fascinating thing.
And it became utterly a huge part of your life for 20 years.
I was fascinated with it. You know, I just couldn't imagine how this guy could do this to me. And he was so much, and I still roll with him every week. I mean, you know, almost every single week I go out there. And I mean, the guy just, you know, it's amazing.
Without seeming too pedestrian in question, how have there been many situations or just a few situations where, I mean, the idea
There's
is
been
I'm
a
going to learn
couple of
this
situations
and
over
I'm-
20 years,
and
yeah.
I'm never going to have to use it. That would be the best plan, but I know that I have it,
Yeah.
right? That would
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It sort of changes your I mean, you know, in any situation, you have this in the back of your head. You think, well, you know, when I was a kid, for example, a fight was meant you stood up and you swung at the guy, and eventually, if you went down, you grabbed him in a headlock and you know, tried to wrench his neck off or something, you know. But it was no plan.
No.
It was just whatever I can do.
Right.
And this changes everything, you know, because what you want to do is, if you have to fight, this is obvious, if you want to run away, but if you have to fight, and you make up your mind you have to fight, then you want to get as close to him as possible.
Right.
And you want to go in without throwing punches. You want to go in protecting yourself from the punch or the kick. And when you close the distance, then you want to hang on. It's not rocket science, but you want to hang on, and you want to take the fight to the ground. Either let him push on you and get on top of you, doesn't matter.
Once it's on the ground.
Once it's on the
You're
ground,
gonna have the advantage.
Once it's on the ground, if they don't know ground fighting, they have like no chance.
Right.
It's like cheating.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like it's just like, because everything that somebody does in a street fight, an unschooled guy, everything they do in a street fight plays into jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like everything they do is hurting them.
Right.
Aside from you don't want to get, you know, punched. So you try to stop all that and then control them. And then it's positioning.
Right.
It's all positioning and leverage. Everything is leverage. If it's hard, it's wrong. It should be just easy, you know?
Yeah. But to have that in your mind as a safety
Yeah.
net, I think is something that most people would
Oh,
benefit from instantly.
They've been trying to do this thing called Bully Proof. They have a DVD, and they have, you know, they teach classes to kids at school, because it's an enormous family. You're probably aware. It's an enormous
The
family.
Gracie.
Yeah, just enormous. And they have sons and daughters and all the kids in the family are basically bully proofed
Right.
before they get to school.
Right.
So that when they get to school, you know, like for example, the fathers, and there's many brothers, excuse me, they'll say, before the first day of school, they'll say, no, you can't hurt the boys at school, number one. When you get in the fight because you're handsome boys, and then the football players maybe going to be a little bit jealous of the attention from the... You can't hurt these boys. You control them,
Get them to the ground.
mount them, and talk to them. You want to be my friend? Otherwise, I can't let you out.
Wow.
And it works.
It should be a great DVD.
It is, and it would be good. Like, you know, they try to get a hold of Oprah or, you know, Dr. Phil, because they have these shows on bullying.
Right.
And basically what they say is, go get a teacher,
Right.
which will get you killed 2 days from then,
Yeah, that's,
or be assertive. That doesn't work, does it? No. Stop that. You know, why?
stop with the hitting.
You know, give me your fucking lunch. I mean,
Yeah.
but what they don't want to ever really face is that the kid has to solve the problem. The parents aren't there.
Right.
Eventually, if you know ground fighting, you can control someone, even if they're bigger and stronger. But nobody believes it.
Right. You didn't believe it that first time.
I'll give you an example. When James Toney was fighting in the UFC, remember that he was going to take on this guy named Randy Couture. I don't even know Randy Couture, but he's a wrestler and he's an MMA guy. So I'm sitting in there watching the thing. There's a bunch of guys there, fighters and everything. And James Toney's coming out to fight. And James Toney was a great boxer, middleweight champ. Great. I followed his entire career. What do you think? I said, Couture, what do you mean? What do I think? Couture's going to beat him easy. Whoa, what do you mean? No, he's going to hit Couture. I said, listen,
Can't touch him.
I could beat James Toney.
At this.
I could beat him. If I was there instead of him, I would beat James Toney because he doesn't know what he's doing. He has no clue. Take him off at the ankles, climb up, control him on the ground, choke him. No chance. On the ground, his little feet were kicking. You know, he had no... it was like he was drowning, you know. That's what happens.
Yeah.
But people don't really... Like Mike Tyson. Any one of these 16-year-old kids out here would beat his ass in the street.
Right.
Because he doesn't know how to fight in the street.
No. He doesn't know how to do the groundwork.
Tony said to the trainer, Freddie Roach, you know, and Freddie wouldn't manage him anymore. He took, you know, too many punches. But he said, Freddie, I'm gonna whip this guy's ass, man. I'm a street guy. You know, I grew up in the street. Freddie said, James, the street has changed, and it's changed through the Gracies.
Yeah.
Once they brought that ground fighting in, the whole thing changed.
And you just got in because of Big Sweaty John.
Big Sweaty John.
Let's talk a little bit about that first movie, if you don't mind, because
Cruising.
yeah, because it's heady company and it's a big fucking deal.
It was.
And you'd been in New York. I mean,
6 months.
right? Not long at all.
I was waiting tables at O'Neill's Balloon across from Lincoln Center. And I did a play. I got involved in a play with Danny Aiello
Oh boy.
and an actor named Joey Cortese. You
Sure.
remember Joe? Well, Joe was the lead, one of the leads, and he had to box. He had to do some boxing. And he used to come to O'Neill's Balloon all the time. And he said, I'm doing this play, but I don't know how to box. He looked good, you know, big guy. And they said, well, I was doing Requiem.
Yeah.
So somebody said, well, he knows how to box. And I knew how to box like a little bit.
Right.
So he came to me, you know, and he said, you know how to box. You know, maybe you show me a few moves. So I said, yeah, sure. You know, I mean, I'm in the apron. You know, jab, jab, this, hook, you know. Oh, man. Hey, there's an understudy role available. You should be the understudy, and you could teach me every day. He had this happy thought. Sure, so I go down, I meet Aiello, Frank Corsaro's directing, it's at the Helen Hayes Theater on Broadway.
all
They're
good.
rehearsing at the Minskoff on the 44th floor. They're bringing the deli in from Hoboken, you know, all the cold cuts. So I get the part as the understudy.
This is Knockout.
Knockout. So now Joey is doing a movie called Windows with Talia Shire and somebody. And he's missing rehearsals because they're shooting, you know, they're going over.
Right.
So when he wouldn't be there, I'd go on for him. Well, I could see that, you know, Danny and everybody was saying, well, this guy makes me look good. You know, he knows how to fight. So So, and he knows all his lines. I knew all my lines, you know. So pretty soon I get a call, hey, Joey, they're firing Joey, and they want you to do the part.
The lead.
Well, it was
One of the leads.
Danny was over the title,
Right. Oh, of course.
and then I was under with, you know, a couple other people. So, but I thought, my God, you know, that's a big break.
Huge.
Huge. The play didn't get great reviews or anything, but I came out okay.
Yeah.
Got an agent and then moved on. And then Friedkin came, saw the play, and then said, you know, I want you to be in my movie. It's called Cruising. It's a detective. You know, it's not a real big role, but it works 10 weeks or something.
Fantastic.
It's Al Pacino, Paul Sorvino.
You're in the movies.
I'm in the movies.
Yeah.
And then I show up at the reading, and there's Al reading, and I'm reading. You know, I'm like, oh, this is Al Pacino. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And then from there, I got Dogs of War with Tom Berenger and Chris Walken.
Who's crazier? Gun to your head.
Tom Berenger.
Do you know how far you have to hit the ball
Wow.
to out crazy walking?
That is out of the stadium.
I think that Tom is though.
Yeah.
Or has become,
Yeah.
and I love him, but he's
And he turned up great in Inception.
oh, and then what was the thing he did?
Right.
The Vietnam movie, you know, fabulous.
Yeah. Oh, the Scarzo.
Yeah,
oh, God,
Barnes.
was
He played
amazing.
Barnes.
Yeah.
And that was another funny story because I was with ICM in New York, and they said, you know, who wrote it and directed it? You know, what's his name?
Oliver Stone.
Oliver Stone.
Platoon, we're talking about.
So they said, Oliver Stone wants to see you for a part in Platoon, this movie called Platoon. Now I read it. And I thought, a B movie. It's like a B war story. I said, okay, I'll go see him, sure. You know, so they give me an address, and it's an apartment on the east side somewhere. I thought, this is a brownstone. What am I doing? I ring the bell. Little old Jewish woman opens the door. Come in, come in. I said, oh, I think I'm in the wrong. No, Oliver, yeah, he's my son. You want some tea? You know, and so now I'm in the, you know, I'm having tea.
Right. The
And
smell
then
of
he
pot comes wafting from the back room.
He comes out and he sits down. How you doing? Nice to meet you. So you read the script? I said, yeah. So what part do you think you? Yeah, you look like a military guy. And what kind of part are you interested in? I said, well, I like that part of Barnes. And it was the same as with Mamet. He goes, Barnes. That's the lead role. I said, well, you asked me. So now, a long story short, Kevin, he says, listen, you know what? You're not Barnes, but there's something for you in this. I'm moving my offices to LA tomorrow. Call, who's over there? Paul Martino. Call Paul, tell him to send your stuff to me, and I get you in the movie. I said, great. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Stone. You know, out I go. I call Paul Martino.
So what are you
From
talking
a
about?
phone booth. You know, I'm looking at the apartment. Paul, I just went great. I told him, he says, he's crazy. I said, what do you mean he's crazy? He's crazy. He just says shit.
He gives out parts.
It's not serious. It's not. And by the way, I'm trying to build a house in Cape Cod. Wait a minute. I wanted flowers on the. I said, Paul, send my shit out to, you know. Oh, God, relax. Never heard another thing about that one.
No. And we don't know if it's because Paul or Oliver Stone.
Well, and then months later, I used to go to the West Side Y because I played handball. I used to play with Jimmy Jacobs and those guys. You know, we used to play doubles. And I see Paul running around the track. You know, there's a track above the gym there, or used to
Yeah.
be. And he would run every day, and he would diet. You know. So I hadn't spoken to him since this. So I said, Paul, hey, you got? I'm running. You know. So I wait, and he finally finishes his laps, and I said, Paul, I need 2 minutes of your time.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
What's wrong here? I mean, I haven't spoken to you in 2 months. You're my agent. He was my film guy, right? I was doing plays. But I said, you know, what is this with you? Don't call me. I don't have I mean, what is the problem? He said, here's the thing. I don't like to make phone calls. Do you know what I mean?
No!
I said, you don't like to, pardon me? I don't like, see, I born in Stapleton. I have others.
The phone rings.
They call me.
Right.
I like that. She's on a boat to Russia. You know what I mean? Doesn't fly. You, I have to I have to call
Work.
them.
I have to do a job. I have to do my job.
I swear to God. I said, well, Paul, and now I'm looking at the track behind him because it's, if I just moved him 4 feet, he goes over and he goes down. And anyway, I changed it. I
Sure.
changed. He said, I don't think I'm right for you. I've been meaning to tell you. I said, well, now we know.
You son of a bitch. I don't like.
Danny Stern attacked him in the office one day about not getting back to him, and he was doing well. He had already done many big things.
Danny's a big guy too.
Yeah.
He sat at this desk.
Yes.
He's a towering person.
Yes.
He may be the tallest Jew out there.
Yeah.
He may be taller than Goldblum. He's also kind of big and broad.
Yeah.
No one's taller than my eye doctor from my hometown, Dr. Howard Ira Cohen. He's
How
the
does he
tallest,
count?
He's the tallest Jew of all
Oh,
time.
Goldblum's pretty big.
Yeah.
I love Goldblum. I love. Again, he's like walking. I'm sure you probably do him.
No, but I
That
should.
strange- you should do
Yeah,
him.
I should because he's very.
He's got that delivery with yes.
Nick Kroll
Our
does
friend
the
Nick
best.
Kroll, who's been hanging out with
Goldblum.
him a little bit now,
Oh
does.
Yeah.
my goodness, he
Yeah.
does the best.
He even
Goldblum.
did this little shake in the seat when he was.
You know what's funny? Now that I see you and Sam in the same room, there's a sort of resemblance somehow. Not exactly.
You're not the first nor last to suggest this is a thing.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah. We're
glad
trying
to
to
hear that.
adopt the Chen. We'll see what happens. I do want to ask also, when in terms of the knockout, when I was reading about it, that experience, and I'm glad we heard the story, because it felt, just in reading it without getting the real depth of it, it
Yes.
felt a little all about Eve.
Yes.
Just a little.
The play itself.
Pushing the lead guy out so you could take over.
Oh yes. No. Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with it, really.
Of course.
But I remember when I came to the rehearsal that day, because ICM called me. Barry, oh God, it doesn't matter now. But he was representing Joe, and he called me and he said, "Are you sitting down?" And they're all gay. And I said, "No, I'm not, but I don't have to," because I knew what it was.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I'm representing Joe Cortez, and unfortunately, and now I'd like to represent you because they want you to do." And I said, "Well, we can talk about that later. My problem is I have rehearsal to go to in 2 hours, and what's that going to be like? Because none of those guys were going to take the blame for that.
Nope.
Danny or none of them.
No.
So when I got there, Frank Corsaro said, "Come here, just sit over there. We'll get you a sandwich. Just be quiet, because all hell is going to break loose, dramatically." So I thought, oh, Jesus, So I'm sitting by the, it's 44th floor, and Danny comes in. "What the fuck did they do to Joey? Yo!" And then that started,
He's not emotional at all.
Oh, man. So, but we got over that,
Yeah.
I got through that.
I didn't want to, I don't know if I was responsible for getting us off the subject of talking about Steve Martin and dramatic work, but The Spanish Prisoner to me was kind of spectacular.
I thought so.
Every square inch of it.
Yes.
Worked for me.
Yeah.
Most of his stuff, almost all of his stuff works, of course. But that one in particular, I love the genre to begin with.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what Steve. I've worked with him a couple times, but it was both comedy. I'm wondering what he was like. Could he have been as confident? I don't want to assume that he was as confident when doing dramatic work as we all know him to be when he's doing comedy, because he should clearly get more opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
He's so he took to it so easily.
Yeah, and I think, and I didn't get to know him that well. I mean, I did talk to him a few times, and then later I did a couple of things with him with Carl Reiner, just but he's a very serious guy. He can be
Mostly serious.
not funny,
Right.
not trying to be funny.
No.
But I have a very funny story about him that you'll like, and it plays right into what we're talking about.
Oh, great.
My mother-in-law from Teaneck, New Jersey.
Sure.
Fort Lee.
Fort Lee.
Yeah.
The great hot dog joint over there too, right?
Yeah, Callahan's.
Callahan's.
Yep.
So anyway, she was out here visiting.
That sounds great.
And I take her to Locanda Veneta.
Sure.
That wonderful restaurant on 3rd,
On
right?
3rd, yeah, right by the Beverly Center.
Exactly. So you know what it looks like? It's like an old house, right?
Yeah.
And they have like 2 rooms.
For a while, it was the best Italian in town.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they have the bushes in front of those big windows, so you don't look in, but it's like a house.
Right.
So we're in one room, my wife and my mother-in-law, and in comes Steve Martin and Lorne Michaels.
Uh-huh.
And I had just done Saturday Night
SNL.
Live, which was not the greatest for me, but that's another story. Anyway,
I'm afraid we're going to need a little bit
I'll
on that.
I'll give you something, but
Yeah.
so
they
they come
walk
in, and she happens to like adore Steve Martin, my mother-in-law. So as they're coming by, hi, how are you? This is Elaine Russoff, my mother-in-law, and oh, hello, Mrs. Russoff. Steve couldn't have been more charming.
Sure.
And Lauren. And now they go and sit, and they don't eat much. I think they had a salad, and they're leaving. We're there for the long run.
Yeah.
So now he's coming out, and he says, "It was lovely to have met you, Ed. Good to see you, and your wife, and and Lauren. Bye." Out they go. And she says, my mother-in-law, "Geez, he's not funny." And I said, "No,
He's a person.
He's a person. He's he's not on. She said, "Oh, I mean, he's charming, wonderful. I'm so happy to have met him, but I just thought he'd be funny." Now she is sitting where you are in relation to me, but the window's behind me. And all of a sudden I see her go, and I turn around, and Steve had gone out the front door, gone through the bushes, and climbed up, and he had a pig nose, and he was making faces in the window at her. And it was just, I think he felt like she wanted him to do something funny.
He danced.
It was the sweetest thing. It was so funny.
Oh my God.
And away he went.
Yeah. Spectacular.
Isn't it?
Yeah. She dines on that for the rest of her life.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's the greatest ever. He did that just for her.
It's like the woman from Youngstown. I'm from Youngstown, you know that. And the woman who wrote, this is a true story, an Italian-American lady listening to the radio, following Frank Sinatra and Ava Gardner, left Nancy, who she was sympathetic to. And that son of a bitch is in Spain with Ava Gardner. I can't believe this. And she got a paper bag, made lunches for the kids, and she writes down, "I want to be around to pick up the pieces when somebody breaks your heart. Somebody twice as smart." She writes that song, "I want to be around." Her girlfriend comes in. Now, she had never written anything in her life, this woman. It's a true story. You can Google this.
Right.
"Look what I did. I wrote this thing. It's like a poem." She said, "It's not bad. You got to send this to Johnny Mercer."
Oh my God.
So she says, "Well, here, I'm busy." She does this. She tapes it. She turns it over. She writes Johnny Mercer, Hollywood, California, and mails it. Cut to, it gets there. His secretary says, "Johnny, you have to see this." He's on his way to record something. He grabs it. He jumps in the car. He's going across town at the light.
The fuck is this?
He reads it. He's walking in the door. He says, "I got a melody." The music. I mean,
Yeah.
he got the thing. So now he calls this woman. He says, "Listen, I like it. No promises. Here's what, no contract. If it goes, I split everything with you."
Oh my God.
50-50. She says, "That sounds like a good deal, Mr. Mercer." She put all her grandchildren through college.
You better
on that
believe
song,
it.
And never wrote another thing.
No.
Anyway, it's a great
I've
story.
never
isn't it?
heard that story.
It's a true
That's-
story. And when I think it was Tony Bennett, 10 years ago, did this big concert in San Francisco.
Sure.
They flew her in.
Oh my God.
And she's like 80 something,
Sure.
right, or whatever. And they front row, and he sang "I Want to Be Around" because he made that quite famous.
That was his song.
That was his song
Yeah.
basically. But they all did it. Sinatra,
Yeah.
they all did it.
Right.
Isn't that great?
That's fantastic.
I want to be around.
I love every square inch of that. I really do.
Yeah.
God damn it, Kenny. Hey, you're kicking around, you're doing the New York stuff, and it isn't until the age of 40, according to the dossier, which has been proven wrong at least once, that you finally star in a TV pilot. And don't you know, Sammy,
Yeah.
it's the easiest job I could imagine.
Yeah.
Gene Hackman wins the Academy Award as Popeye Doyle
Oh, God.
in The
yes.
French Connection.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure.
So who wouldn't want to play Popeye Doyle in a TV pilot after Hackman won the Academy Award doing it in
Yeah.
a movie?
Well,
Now,
It's a dream gig.
Now, you have
like
to
the
understand.
easiest job in the world.
You have to
How do you
understand.
fuck this up?
when I got this job,
Oh, my God.
I swear to God, Kevin, when I got this job, Bobby Singer
Oh,
was
yeah.
producing it, right? So I went to a secondhand clothing store, and I bought like this old suit, and I bought a pork pie hat.
Sure.
Which I still have, by the way.
Oh, nice. They're back.
And I wore
they're
it to-
back, by the way. They're back in a big way.
Are they
The
back?
pork pie, yeah.
I got
That's
I got
only
a great
you who
hat,
wears
by the way,
them.
Mammoth gave me. I almost wore it, and I should have wore it.
Oh, man.
It's great. It's a South Side Chicago, kind of brim, stingy brim like. But anyway, I show up at the audition, and I think just for the fact that I walked in and I looked like, something. I mean, this cop, they hire me. Now, I'm living on Chelsea. I'm living in Chelsea on 21st between 8th and 9th, closer to 8th, in an efficiency apartment. I mean, the water in the tub was brown.
Sure.
The ceiling was caving in. There was a window, but it was bars to a building.
Oh,
You know what I mean? It was
ideal.
a slum.
Yeah, you were in prison.
Yeah. And I'm living there with my girlfriend who became my wife, and I said, I've got this job. Now, nobody, you have to understand, loves Gene Hackman more than me.
He's one of
I mean, I think he's one of the greatest actors ever.
that will ever live.
Ever.
Also, if I may, his comedic turn in
Was it
Birdcage?
The Royal
Oh,
Tannenbaums
phenomenal.
is one of the greatest comedic performances of the last 30 years for me, bar none.
He's a phenomenal actor. You've seen Scarecrow with Pacino. I mean, that's, by the way,
Yeah,
I'm going to say, I'll come right back to that's Cuckoo's Nest.
yeah, yeah.
And as much as I love Nicholson, he
Yeah.
wanted to play it. He
Yeah.
was the perfect Randall McMurphy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That was the character.
Yeah.
So anyway, I get the part. And now I read the script, and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ almighty, it's not very good. It didn't even make sense. I said to Bobby, who I love Bobby. I said, Bobby, it doesn't make sense. There's no, don't worry about it. We'll fix it. So now the press. Now when I show up, I said, I'll walk, because the first shot was up on like 43rd and 8th.
Yeah, they shot in New York.
I'm on 21st and 8th. I said, I can walk up. And no, insurance purposes, we have to pick you up. But they didn't know where I was, and I ended up walking. And I get up there the first day, and the extras or everybody's there, and I walk over to this AD, and I say, excuse me, where should I go? And she said, over there with the extras. You're over there. She thought I was a Teamster or something.
You didn't have the hat on.
Yeah, so now they finally get that straightened out. And the press, don't you worry about, I said, honey, I live in a slum. They're paying me $40,000. That's what I made for it. I said, that's like a fortune to me.
That's a lot. That's easily
$40,000, one shot.
Oh God, you can't fathom that.
No. And so that's why I did it.
Yeah.
I mean, I said, I'm doomed.
Whoever does it is doomed.
Whoever does it.
Yeah. But
So.
and
And I did it, and by the way, I swear to God, and I can't watch it. I cannot watch it. I've seen, no, it's
how are you
bad.
watching everything else you do?
I can watch some things I do. A lot of things I can't.
You
And
can't.
a lot of things that people have told me they liked, I can't watch. As I think, no, it's not good. It's not really, and I'm not just saying that. I mean, I know it's not fucking good. I know it isn't.
Right.
And I'll watch it and go, well, they're being very sweet and you're being kind. It stunk. I stunk.
Right.
I did a fucking movie one time for Disney. It used to be, and I always get the title they couldn't use, Waiting for Valdez or something like that. It took place in Montana in the woods, and I was with a lovely actor named Dan Roebuck. We were two cops from
Dan
Newark.
Roebuck.
Yeah,
Dan Roebuck.
Jay Leno in The Late Show.
Yeah.
Among many other things.
Two cops from Newark, and it's fish out of water story. We're
Fugitive
after,
movies. It's in the Fugitive movies. Sorry.
I can't even think of the name of it. I always block it out. Lovely guy, Jim Kauf wrote it, directed it, and there I was, and I'm doing this horrible Jersey accent, and over the top, I watch it with my mouth open. I said, what was I thinking? Why didn't somebody say something to me? But we were all like that. It was just horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes on, and I bolt to shut it off.
How about the opposite of that? Is there something that you still get
Yeah,
tickled
there's some
by?
things that I've done. Like, for example, and fairly late, really. I love what I did in The Spanish Prisoner.
Oh yeah.
That was, because I started to learn. You learn. I learned as I went. But Spanish Prisoner, I liked what I did in that play, the Mammoth play,
Lake Boat?
Lake Boat. And then
When you stopped doing the impersonation, you mean?
when I stopped doing the impersonation, and then I liked what I did in Big Apple.
Yeah.
Most of it. most of it. And some of it, when I saw, there were a couple of scenes where I thought, yeah, I can't do better than that.
Right.
That's as good as I can be.
Right.
And then in John from Cincinnati, there were some scenes in that I was very happy with. You know, I thought, yeah, that's pretty good.
Right.
You know, so, and it's good for an actor to get the opportunity, well, it's essential for an actor to get the opportunity, and I know Sammy will agree,
To stink?
to get good material.
Yes.
Because if you never know if you're good.
Right.
You're never going to be good with bad material.
Ever.
I don't give a shit what you do. Stand on your head.
Right.
You're not going to be good.
It's one of the first things, once you allegedly have a choice, once you allow yourself to choose, when you're not living in...
Yeah, Chelsea and the,
Right.
you know.
And you say, okay, like for example, according to legend and lore, when Married with Children first as a script comes to you, you know, sometimes things just don't reach out and grab you.
Right.
Initially. And you start, you know, there have been people over the years that have treated their careers like porcelain eggs, and I think the best example may be, and I hate to call them names, but Sandra Bernhardt, as brilliant as it gets in King of Comedy, and then afterwards, pretty much knowed herself out of the business by saying no to everything she was
You
offered.
got to work.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's...
It's such a hard balance.
It is.
And I've been having these conversations recently with people that it's the one wildly bizarre profession where we're not allowed to do bad work.
Right.
Every other profession,
Right.
I'll have someone come up to me and say, what were you thinking when you did this movie? And I said,
Yes.
well, I probably wanted to work and had a mortgage. If you didn't like it, I'm sure it was awful.
Yes.
What is it you do, sir? And he says, I'm a baker.
Yes.
I said, you're a baker.
Yes.
You ever had anything come out burnt? Ever?
Well, I made them let me do bad
Did
work.
the cakes ever fall?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, you know, I'm not saying
Also, we're not allowed to
this-
do anything for money.
Right,
We're
that's
never
bad.
allowed to work
That's
for money.
bad.
That's the other.
But I'm saying, when I go on about some of the stuff that I did that I hate, I'm not really ashamed of it.
Nah.
I mean, I know I did the best I could. I was trying. I
Right.
just didn't. It's a difficult little, you know, you learn and then, okay, you know. Like, for example, I used to make faces sometimes. Well, I made faces in Married with Children, but I did that intentionally, and that's another
I
thing.
thought your face was going to freeze at one point like that. The old cross your eyes
But in
thing.
dramatic stuff,
Yeah.
early on, I think, I'm sure, that if someone said something to me, could be anything, jarring, say, and I knew the camera was on me, I might go,
Sure.
then when I would see it.
In a
I would
drama?
think, yeah, why did you make that face? It's not necessary.
My brother, who, I kid you not, has sold shoes for the better part of 10 years, would like to know how you feel about Dutch. And I'm a big fan of that film as well.
That movie was also one that I have a very difficult time watching.
Oh,
and that surprises a lot of people. Only because
Because I did want to ask about John Hughes for sure.
John Hughes.
Exceptional.
Well, John Hughes. When
That
I
can't be
did-
good.
when
That
I-
can't be good.
That's okay.
Jesus.
That's what do they say?
We haven't been away
Happy
long
accident
enough.
injects railway. John Hughes and I got along great, and I just thought, this is great. You know, this is like a guy who's so good. You know what he does.
Master.
Yeah, and he called me every night. I met his family. We had dinner together. He made all these plans. We were going to do a movie in Youngstown about a rhythm and blues band, and all this stuff. And then the movie opened. Well, as I should say, it did not open.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that the movie was so bad, I think. Well, that could be wrong. But I think it was one of those movies, and I don't exactly know how this works, that Fox made to kind of throw away.
Right.
For whatever reasons that they have to lose some money. I don't know.
No, I'll
There's
tell you
something
one,
about this.
one glaring reason is they want to be in the John Hughes business. And if John Hughes wants to make this movie, they say yes.
They say yes.
Yeah, if they say yes to this, they get maybe the next one.
I think that's probably
and
true.
And then their marketing department does not gear up because that's not what.
No, it didn't happen.
Right.
And they threw it into
Because I remember the marketing was pretty bad.
Robin Hood
Right.
and the Schwarzenegger Terminator.
Terminator 2, yeah.
What?
Wow.
And then people kept saying, "Is this about Dutch Schultz?"
Right.
You know, the title was all right. But so a long story short, again, I keep saying that, but I don't want to go on too much. But it was like I never heard from John again. The calls stopped. I made a couple calls to him. I mean, I didn't go overboard with that, because I
Sure.
got a sense of it.
You get a,
The movie didn't open. Forget it.
I'm not your guy.
I'm not your guy. So I called twice the director, lovely guy, Australian, who did Crocodile Dundee, Peter, again, I'm bad with names. Oh, yeah. Again, never called him. And we knew a guy that was close to him, and he said, look, he just wants to forget about any failure. He just,
Can't deal with
he
it.
can't deal with it. So I said, okay, fine. So then I think I was on Letterman. And he said, what was it like to work with John Hughes? It must have been wonderful. I said, well, it was good. I said, but if I was in a bar and I got in trouble, I wouldn't want to be with John. Letterman said, why? And I said, well, because he'd be out the back door and I was getting my head handed to me. And that got to him, and apparently he was very upset about that. But it's true.
Yeah. You earn those stripes, by the way.
So I said, well,
Yeah.
I would have called me back, and said, nice try, we tried,
Yeah.
so we failed.
Don't call me every night before we open, and then
never again.
No nights.
I was surprised one of his kids didn't call me, just to say, I'm sorry, I won't see you anymore. I kind of liked you,
You got ridiculously close.
Yeah, it was right.
Yeah. Absurdly.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like you shared a foxhole and none when you work on a picture every day, 12, 14 hours a day with the same people. You spend more time with them than your own family. And when that doesn't continue because the project wasn't successful, it is one of the most difficult things to wrap your head around.
It takes you, you really have to kind of,
Because the time you spent together was real. There's no taking that away.
Yeah, and I think again, and I've said this before, at least once anyway. I've said that a way to deal with it, hatred helps for a while. It gets you over that first month, I guess. But the kid that played the little kid in Dutch with me, I got fairly close with him, and he was 12, I think.
Right.
And, it was the kind of thing we spent so much time together, and there was, we had a couple hookers in the car, and he was actually getting aroused, because he had to put his face on her breasts, and he wanted to talk to me about that. And he didn't have the greatest family thing going on. So I sort of said, it's okay, you're going to get a hard on. It's okay. I did a little bit of that with him.
Right.
So cut to years later, I'm supposed to do Deadwood for David Milch.
Right.
And that doesn't work out because they didn't want me. And, fine.
Yeah.
But then Dick Wolf called, Dragnet.
To be specific, David wanted you.
David wanted me.
He kind of wrote the part for you.
David wrote the part for me.
Right. Okay. I'd heard that. I just wondered.
And I was involved in it for a year.
Oh, fuck.
And then he got in with, what's his face? The guy they fired from HBO.
Yeah.
Albrecht. Chris Albrecht, who, by the way, I don't have one bad feeling about.
No.
He said, I don't want him.
Yeah.
I don't want Al Bundy to play.
Want who they want.
I said, fine.
Yeah.
That's his right. So, but it was tough, and they had me screen test. I mean, they made me jump through the fucking hoops, which I would say, don't do it.
Yeah.
Just say no. I can take it. You know. Why would I have to dress up and do the fucking screenplay? Anyway, screen test. So, I went through all that. Anyway, now Dick Wolf calls me. I'm on my way to Jiu-Jitsu. The day I heard Milch called, it's not going to work out. Thanks for trying, Dave. Bing. Ring. Dick Wolf. Dick, listen, I'm fucked over here. I've got Dragnet. I had to fire the Joe Friday. I said, who's playing
Danny
Joe Friday?
Houston?
Danny Houston. Danny Houston. He's not a cop. He's not a cop. I'm thinking, fired Danny Houston. Danny Houston, a good actor, I said, no, I can't do it. So now this goes back and forth a few days. And he says...
well, now, why do you think you said no?
I said, it's a procedural, right? It's an hour drama.
That's not the job for you.
It's not my job. So now he calls back and he says, how much money would it take? And I said, I want $125,000 a week, something like that.
Something crazy.
Something crazy that he won't pay because, Dick's a little bit, he's close, by the way. So now he says, well, I can't pay that much. I said, well, I'll watch it. He said,
I'll be a fan.
Great response.
Oh,
he
it's
said, I
fantastic.
got the show running, but I don't have Joe Friday.
They'd already started shooting.
They started shooting.
Yeah.
They shot for like 10 days with Danny Houston. So now they come up with the money. ABC kicked in the extra, whatever it was, and I
Now you're stuck. You named a number.
I named it. I told him.
You made the mistake.
It's like the great story that Bernie Brillstein said when they said we were renegotiating Married with Children, and Gary Lieberthal said, "What the fuck does he want? What the fuck does he want, Bernie?" And Bernie said, "I don't know, Gary, but I think I'll know it when I hear it." So now I did the opposite. I'm in. The first week I have a ball. I'm going, I can do this on my head. It's, I'm a cop. I'm doing the cop thing.
Right.
And now I know how to underplay. Now I know how to, I feel very confident.
You're not making that face.
I'm making the face. And after about 3 weeks, I start thinking, this is how it goes. It's 14 hours a day. Every scene. This is like the pyramids, building pyramids. You know? And now I start thinking, I don't think Danny Houston, by the way, got fired. I think he quit.
Yeah.
I never did find out, but I would bet money that he just said, I can't do this.
Right.
So anyway, I ended up doing that for a year and a half.
Holy fuck.
With
Oh.
Ethan Embry from.
And here's why I'm
love
trying
this
to
kid.
come with this. When I said I do it, they said, well, you got to meet, your partner. And I said, okay. So I go in and I see this kid sitting in there, this young guy, how you doing? Hey, how are you?
Super.
Good. Okay, so what's your name? He tells me the name. It's not the same name.
Right, Randall.
Ethan Randall.
Randall to Embry.
It's the same kid. It's the kid from Dutch.
Yeah.
Different. He changed his name.
Holy
Now
fuck.
he's 20,
Yeah, 25, 26.
25. He was 12 the last time I saw him.
He was waiting for you to recognize him.
Yeah.
And you,
I said, Ethan, but your name. Oh, I changed it. Oh my God. And that was it. I was with him.
yeah.
And got along great, great
Love
guy.
Ethan Embry.
And a good actor.
Great actor.
Yeah. Although only billed as the bass player in that thing you do,
That's correct.
the Tom Hanks film. The bass player. That's just wrong. We like to get questions from our audience. Believe it or not, people
Yeah.
are watching live
Sure.
in bigger numbers than you would think, because I know you probably imagine 12, 14 people.
No. I
We had
don't imagine
85,000.
anything.
We had 85,000. We had Sugar Ray Leonard here a couple of months ago. 85,000 watching live. Who the fuck watches TV live, let alone the internet? I love you people.
I know Ray Leonard too.
Yeah. I'm part of a production company that got the life rights to a story. We're trying to bring it to a film. This kid.
And in light of all the book and everything, that's going to be quite.
Yeah.
It adds a whole other dimension.
Sir, indeed. So this question looks like it's. Or is this just the one from Sean Trenery? Is that the one you're offering up?
There's two there.
85,000. 2 people called in.
Yeah.
Well, these are the two best questions.
Oh, no.
I'm kidding.
I have to feed them to. I have to spoon feed
No,
them to him
she's got a
because he
real
can't
reason.
read.
It's me. It's me. I'm going to go Joe Wilson. Could he take down David Mamet using martial arts?
Uh-oh.
Now that you guys have been through it, they're going to put you to the paces.
Well, tell him I'm a black belt.
Yeah, let's start there.
And David is not.
I think David's. Maybe David got a brown belt though. Oh, yeah, I don't know now. Tell him I don't know now. He's a tough guy, by the way.
He doesn't.
He
just,
wrestled in college. He's a very, do you know him?
He doesn't just come off as one. He
No,
actually is
he's a
one.
tough guy. He's
Yeah.
pugnacious and he's strong and he's determined.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't be any easy,
You might get him off if he was sitting on top of you.
I might be able to get him off, or I might have to go to a couple of different moves with him.
This one from the Sean Trenery. Any and all Al Bundy character traits, I mean, this came up years ago, but do they stick with you? Is every now and then, this was something I had, every now and then you'll find yourself, because, at some point we inhabit,
Well, sure.
especially if you're doing 10 and a half
Sure,
seasons.
of course.
And so the question was, all these years later, is there something that happens and you'll go, oh, fuck, look at that.
Well, I look like him. See, that's the problem.
He's in the mirror. I understand.
I look like that guy.
I understand he's in the mirror.
Although now the older I get,
You're out of the woods.
I'm sort of out of the woods. Yeah, oh, sure. But, honestly, not too much.
Right.
Because because the nature of that show was such that they encouraged me to go over the top. They encouraged,
Sure.
and I went along because I thought, well, now we're running so long, we got to be funny and we got to do something
Right.
that's funny.
Right.
And I thought it might have been a mistake. But I mean, I think that's how the show, how we lived in that show. You know, it wasn't subtle. It wasn't.
No.
So I went so far over the top that almost anything I did after that, dramatically, was, you know, Mr. Underplay. You know, you go, gee, that's not anything like, you know, well, almost every role was different than that role.
Yeah, well, it would of course be. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it was so iconic, I have to assume that there was, and you're doing other work during the run.
Yes.
Trying to diversify, trying to show other sides of you. But it has to be tough because the character of Al Bundy just became so indelible. I mean,
Yeah. And I was conscious of the fact that I didn't want to be typecast, like everybody, and I didn't want to, and you know, it used to be irritating to me, wherever I went, when somebody would come up to me and say, yeah.
Jesus.
And it used to irritate me. And it got to a point where I started to get not nice about it, you know. I mean, I didn't yell. I would just say, hey, you know, pal, that's not my name, you know. And that didn't take long for me to hear me say that. And I thought, what is wrong with you? You know, they don't know you. They only know you from the show.
Right.
Shut up. You made a lot of money. You're a lucky son of a bitch.
It's a hell of a run.
It's better than any, you know, construction work or whatever I was going to do with my life, steel mills. And so I got out of that.
Yeah.
And I really got out of it to where I would say, yeah, how you doing, pal? You know. And I'm okay with that now.
Yeah. Well, it's nice that it didn't take long, because something like that can take you in and out of rehab 7 times.
Well, I was lucky. I mean, I thought I would be typecast for life. I thought, when that show went down, I thought, all right, that was part of our renegotiation always. You know, he's never going to work again.
Oh, God.
So, you know, Bernie, you know, he's never going to work again.
Yeah. You've killed his career, now you got to pay
He's
him.
dead. You understand? And I'm sitting right here. He's dead. Give the kid some fucking money and buy him a car.
By the way.
So I thought, well, maybe I am. And, you know, Deadwood, things like that would go,
Right.
Could be, you know. But I just kept going.
Well, it was kind of one lark after another, I would think, for you during the process initially. Because, first of all, you're not jumping up and down when you read the script saying, oh my God, I have to do this. Then the thing is only going to, was 6 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Listen.
It was, for me, it was a Christmas gig.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and I was in the Village in New York.
Yeah. And by the way, Fox isn't even a thing. You're fine.
Yeah, don't they make movies? I said, what are they, the network? They're not a network.
No, you're going to be fine. And then, you know, just in terms of how that evolves, where I would imagine it becomes funny and kind of fun when you get in that pocket.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. And honestly, there were...
Because no one's taking it seriously. They're just loving it for what it is.
No, and the 2 guys that created the show, Michael Moye, Ron Levitt, wonderful guys, by the way. A Jew from Brooklyn and a black guy from North Carolina.
Can't beat it.
They were partners.
Yeah.
And
I Spy.
I Spy. And they looked like gas station attendants. I mean, they looked like street bums.
Right.
And they were multimillionaires, both of them, from different jobs that they had done prior to that show. But when I met them and I started working with them, never across work, in, you know, 11 years, 10 and a half seasons. And I don't know how long it went, but it was a good length of time. I'm going to say more than 3 years anyway, maybe 5, where some of our rehearsals, I have never laughed so hard in my life.
Wow.
Just, you know, the stuff that didn't make the air sometimes, but just stuff. And these guys were funny guys.
Yeah.
They were very funny guys.
Oh, clearly.
Very irreverent. I mean, they tell Fox to go fuck themselves. I mean, they were ballsy guys, and they didn't give a fuck. And we could do anything practically because, you know, we were keeping them in the black.
Yeah. Oh, God. No, it became an official network.
Levitt did a thing. You know, Levitt died
not
too long ago. Yeah. Terrible, you know, lung cancer. But, you know, he never stopped smoking. He just was, there'll have to be a book about Ron Levitt. But we had the German contingent come over. They had bought the rights from whoever owned it. It changed, Columbia, Coca-Cola, whoever, take your pick. But they were going to produce the show in Germany with German actors.
Sure.
And they wanted to come over and follow us around for a week and,
Oh my God, there's the show right there.
pick up whatever they could pick up and see how the show was produced and so forth.
The Germans are
So
coming.
now they're all sitting in the back. All these Germans, there's like 12 or 13 of them, women, men. And Levitt gets up. This is at a table read, before the table read, and Ron says, and we have the German contingent here, from Hamburg. Welcome. They're here for a week. We want to extend ourselves. We want to show them every courtesy. Whatever they want to do, they're welcome. And I just, to make it even easier for them, Jew. Jew.
They love that.
It was
Did they
so
just-
brutal. I mean, it was like, Ron, you didn't do that,
Do you know the story? I just heard it recently. Apparently, it's been around for a long time. Robin Williams was on the Tonight Show of Germany. And this show in Germany is not just the late night talk show. It is.
No, I actually met the guy. I believe it's the same, unless it's changed. The guy was over here, and we met him. Big star.
Yeah,
Yeah,
huge.
huge.
It's one of the highest viewed
Yeah.
shows, including all of primetime.
Yeah.
And Robin was a guest on this Tonight Show talk show. And he's having a great time, and everybody laughs, and the host is loving him, huge, crazy fan. And he says, finally, I have to ask, why aren't there more German comedians? Why aren't there more funny Germans? You must know. And Robin said, well, I imagine it's because you killed them all. And they went to commercial, came back, no Robin.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. See, this is the thing. When I used to go out with, why I ended up with Brillstein Gray, I'll never know. See, that was, and I'm still with them, by the way. No, because Bernie
Right.
said,
God bless him.
he's working for what?
Yeah.
And so they got me over there. Now, they didn't know what to do with me. I wasn't really a comedian. I wasn't a stand-up guy, but I love stand-up. I adore guys who do it.
Right.
And
And they had all of them.
They had all of them.
Yeah.
They had Saturday Night Live. They had everything. So I used to go out with these guys, Lovitz,
Yeah.
and I would sit.
Still the oldest 9-year-old you'll ever meet, by the way, John Lovett.
Did I tell you? Did you go to Bernie's memorial?
No.
Were you in town? They had it at UCLA,
Right.
at the Royce Hall or something.
Right.
It was jammed. And Lovitz got up, and I'm sitting next to Mark Gervitz, my manager. Now, they had split up.
Right.
And they had also been very close.
Sure.
And
Father and
they had
son.
a beach house together and the whole thing. So now he gets up and he says, I heard about Bernie. I'm heartbroken. And I thought, he's serious. There was just a tone. Now, I've never seen John serious. And I said to myself, I have to wonder, why? He wasn't that old. I'm thinking 74 or 5. He wasn't that old. Why? Why Bernie? Why not Mark Gervitz? I'm sitting next to Mark. And then he said, as you may know, Mark and I parted ways. We had a difference about my career. I wanted it to go up. And from then on, he killed.
He turned Bernie's memorial into a roast
and
of
it was
Gervitz.
hilarious. And he finally said something like, the last time I saw him, I said, Bernie, when the day comes that you die, and I'm wishing it's far away, I'll be speaking at your memorial as I am tonight. What would you like me to say? He said, kid, tell him I had a great big cock. So when he killed. He killed.
Of course.
At Bernie's. I'll tell you one other thing about Lovitz. I swear to God, it's a true story, and I'll say it's funny, and it lets you into the minds of these guys, and you know them so well. You know them, you know it
Too
better
well.
than I do.
Too well, I'm afraid.
I ran into John at Tiffany's. I never go to Tiffany's, but I was there with my wife to get something for a gift for somebody in Beverly Hills, and there's John, and it was 2 days after Phil Hartman.
Oh, boy.
Okay, Phil Hartman and John were best friends.
Best friends, yeah.
The best of friends.
Thick as thieves.
So when I saw him, I thought, oh my God, here's John. And I went over to him and I said, John, what can I say? And he said, what? And I said, what can I say, about Phil? He said, what about him?
Jesus Christ.
I said, what about him? Come on, What? I said, he was killed. He goes, oh, that! Now, that being prefaced with the fact that I think he threw up for a week.
Yeah, he did.
That it almost killed him.
Yeah.
But he couldn't resist
Right.
being funny.
The dark humor.
And the last thing I'll tell about these guys, because you can edit all this shit, right? Oh, no, this is not. Was Farley.
Yes.
Lovitz threw a Super Bowl party at his house in Bel Air.
I went to a couple of those.
I went to one.
Yeah.
And this is the one I went to.
You got
Now
it.
I'm there, and Farley's in rehab in Venice someplace. Gets out for the day to see the Super Bowl.
Always a good idea.
John has a Mexican routine, Mexican food. It's a big buffet table and everything. Now he's got the screening room. The game's going to start. Farley shows up late. Just got out. He gets there. So everyone else is eating, or they've got plates and they're going in to see the kickoff. And Farley starts, putting food on his plate. And Lovitz said, "Leave a little bit for someone else," And he just looks and he says, "I'm hungry." So, "I thought you were on a diet. Jesus Christ, what do you weigh now?" And he just keeps. Now we go in, shut the door, and the game starts. No Farley. So I'm kind of looking at the door like, he's got the food. He'll come in, Door opens. He walks in. He's got a platter, and what he did was he took one of those Italian breads, right, and he sliced it lengthwise, and then he put every condiment that was on the table, every condiment in existence, sandwiched it on top of John Lovitz's beloved cat. And he's holding it up, and the cat is, and he says, "I'll eat any fucking thing I want to on Super Bowl Sunday."
That's spectacular. That is absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well,
So, I go out with these guys, and I wouldn't say 2 words. You can't talk. I just sit there. And they would try routines out on me.
Yeah.
And I found out, I wasn't in on it. They would compete with one another to see who could make me laugh the hardest. And then I finally got Carvey going. And then another would try,
Right.
My God. Anyway, it's...
he's pretty much the oldest 9-year-old you'll ever meet.
Yes.
And absurdly funny.
Absurdly funny.
And beautifully inappropriate at all times.
He met, at one time we were in Malibu, and I just leased a place out there on the beach, and he was next door. And where they got that skit from Saturday Night Live, the guy won't leave. "Hi, John." "Hi." He's never going to leave. So he says, "Gervitz is having dinner with his fiancée up in Malibu, Cross Creek." I said, "Good, let's go up and say hello. And we got to eat." I said, "John, it's not appropriate. His fiancée." Her family was in. They were wealthy ranchers from Montana, waspy, blonde family. "No, come on." So now we go up, and I see Mark looking, and we come in. "Hi, how are you? John Lovitz." And they're a little, John Lovitz, Saturday Night Live. They knew me from the show. Hi. And Mark says, "Why don't you go sit down and eat, John? Go ahead. And thanks for stopping by." He says, "Hey," to the father, the girl's father, "did you hear the one about the Russian Jack the Ripper? Tear her tits off." Guy says, "What?" "Tear her tits off. Get it?" Okay, that's enough about these guys.
Holy crap! The fuck is the matter with him?
Tear her tits off. Get it? Russian Jack the Ripper. Tear her tits off.
Oh, fuck. Lovitz called me, when are you going to ask me to be on your show? Oh, God. Whenever you want, John. Okay.
Where are you, John? In Malibu. I'm forced to live in this shithole. He's on the beach.
Exactly. He's in a palace. Okay. On the new show, I want to know how many minutes you knew Julie Bowen before she insisted that she could lactate on command. 2-3 minutes?
Less.
Right? What the fuck? That was my experience. I met her. I went and did a guest thing on the Ed show.
She is far. And
I knew her 90 seconds. She said, "I can lactate on command." I said, "What?"
she's something else.
Yeah, she's.
You know, she runs 10 miles a day at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Of course she does. She refuses to age. She's going for the gold.
And she used to be with Dave, you know.
Dave?
Again, the names, you know. Just shoot me.
Spade.
Spade!
Well, who wasn't with Spade? You kidding?
They were an item, you know, for
I-
quite a
well,
while.
Quite a while,
Quite a
really?
while.
I
Quite
didn't
a while,
know that.
yes.
So I should ask him about the lactating?
Ask him about the lactating. You know, I didn't know Julie. I'd seen her a couple times on Boston Legal.
Right.
I didn't know any of them.
The problem is she's been on 19 shows and it's no longer fair.
And she's very good. And
Yeah,
she,
she's-
you know, and she's perfect in the role. I mean, you know,
Of course.
the whole experience for me was that I didn't know anybody in the show. When I sat down at the table, Reed, I told Sam, I looked and I said, nobody, who are these people? Nobody.
Right.
Nobody here, but me.
The show can't possibly make it.
Can't possibly. And then we started reading it, you know, and I never act, you know, when I'm doing that. I'm
Not a
looking,
table
I'm
read.
reading, you know, and pretty soon I start, you know, what did he just do that? You know, a Ty Burrell or something. That was pretty funny. Back to then someone else, you know, what the? I mean, it was like, who are these? It was like, you know, Butch and Sundance, you know, who are these
those
guys?
guys?
You know, it was great. It was just,
But it wasn't until the table read that it all.
no, I never met them until the
Right.
table read. But when I read the script, I had met with Lloyd and Leviton a year before they wrote it in their offices. And I told Mark, you know, he said, they want to talk to you about this idea. And I said, it's a half hour. I said, they do half hours. He said, yeah. I said, I'm not doing another half hour, ever in my life. I did one, you know. And
not just one.
Just meet them, you know. And I said, okay, so I went in. And when I went in, they were laughing. I went in because I knew who they were and I knew what they'd done and I respected their work.
They're funny.
They're funny. So I went in and I met them and they were delightful guys. And they were laughing like, oh, we know you don't want to do it. And I said, what's a half hour? I don't want to do a half hour. Here's the idea. Great idea.
I'll watch it.
That's what I said. I did say that. I'm going to watch it. They said, when we write it, will you read it? And I said, yes, be happy to read it because I know it'll be good. But I'm not thinking it's not good for me.
Right.
So a year later, I get this envelope, and I thought, and they had changed the title because of legal reasons. It used to be called An American Family or something.
Yeah, All American Family.
All American Family. So I didn't recognize the title. And then I saw Leviton, oh, it's them. Geez, this is that show. So now I read it, put it down. When I came back, I said, I want to read it again. I read it again. Damn. So I called Mark. I said, I want to do it.
Yeah.
He said, too late. I said, what do you mean too late? I just read it. They're out to, who? You know, Coach.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, Craig T. Nelson.
Yes,
Yeah.
I always forget Craig's name. I'm sorry.
Jamie, you fought aliens once with Craig T. Nelson, didn't you?
No, Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
I was fighting aliens with Harrison Ford.
Well,
Correct.
they're out to Craig T. Nelson. And I said, oh, okay. You know, well, okay. I'll watch it. I
Right.
will watch it. So a week later, back to me. Couldn't make the deal, whatever. He wanted more money, whatever it was. You know, I wasn't privy to it. But back to you. I said, make the deal. Mark said, are you crazy? Ed, first of all, you're not the star of the show. I said, okay, what else? Well, it's an ensemble. I said, right. It's not a lot of work. Right. I said, and it's
2-3
great.
days a week?
I said, and I have a feeling it's going to be a good show. Well, they don't want to give you any money. I said, we'll get it later.
That's how it works.
And I just, it was one of those things where, you know, in your life, you know, I just thought, this is going to go.
Yeah. And you also like the idea of working 2-3 days.
I loved it. And I liked the ensemble thing about it, you know. And I also liked the fact that Jay, the character that I play, everything sort of revolves around him. He sort of just watches everything.
Right.
So it's the kind of acting that I actually prefer. It's just sort of like
Reactive.
Yes, exactly. I like that.
Yeah.
And
You got Sammy jumping up and down off the edge of the desk.
Sammy's doing the
And
tricks.
he's doing all the hair.
I never
heavy
get out of the
lifting.
chair.
You're sitting in a chair stealing laughs.
I never get out of the chair.
Never got out of the chair.
You see what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So it was perfect for
You
me.
start to understand why Raymond Burr said, yes, I'll do Ironsides, but I will be in a fucking
I'll be in a
wheelchair.
chair.
I'm done with the walking.
Yeah, it's true. And
You're going to have to cart my ass around. Imagine that negotiation.
It's true. I mean, it is. It is. I couldn't be happier with the job. I just
Yeah.
love it. I love doing it. And I'm a bit of a cheerleader for everybody.
Yeah.
And if I may, when you're on set, boy, oh boy, does that crew make sure the shots get done. And I hope you don't mind me telling this, but the
Yeah,
day we
please.
shot those scenes, I had to be in first call through hair and makeup. I'm ready to go at 7:30.
Yeah.
We get to set, and I see Ed's like, what time are we getting? Because I got an appointment. I got to get across town. What time is it? We're going to get this
I
going?
got to get across town.
We sit down to do the scenes. I'm wrapped by 10 a.m.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm in, and I.
Done, he's gone. And I was
On
like,
the
wow,
day
they
that
are
you
moving
shoot.
when Ed is on set. They do not lollygag around. So,
And I don't crack a whip. It's just
No,
that
no, no,
let's
it's
go.
like-
Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get this. And it's fun for me to work that way too.
Oh,
and
sure.
And you never felt any pressure. I mean, we
None
basically
whatsoever.
said do whatever you want, and you're great in this, and he was.
Yeah, he
Oh,
was.
very sweet.
He was.
No, you really were.
I just, because, sometimes they'll do the take 15 times, and it's like, no, everyone here does their job well. Let them do their job. We don't need to micromanage.
And I remember a couple of times the director, who's wonderful, by the way, he'd give him something, and I thought he's already done that. We've already got that. And so he would tell him, and he'd walk out, and I'd look at him, and I'd go, we'll just do it again. It's going to be different. Do it again. We'll do it again.
It was a very fun morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Got you up by 10, too.
Yeah, we were
Couldn't
done.
beat that. I was like, wow, I'm thrilled my scenes were with Ed.
And the
That was
crew likes
great.
me because if I'm done, they're done.
Yeah.
They're trying to get home too.
So what was so annoying about doing SNL that first time? Oh. You mentioned something about...
Well, here's what I was so insecure.
Because Bernie pretty much, has represented anyone of import in the show since its
Yes,
inception,
and so I had
including
to do it,
Lorne Michaels.
and I had to do it because
And
I
you're-
was with Bernie.
And you're the first star from the Fox network, if I'm not correct, to host
Tracy
that.
Ullman.
Hosted SNL before you?
I don't know.
According to the dossier, you were the first.
It was probably me, and then I'm sure she did it. And because Fox loved her show.
Yeah.
And she's a very talented woman.
Unbelievably so, yeah.
Yes, and but somehow the show didn't work.
Right.
And it was very difficult. I never really got to know Tracy too well. I think Barry, Spiller, what's his name? Barry Diller. Mm-hmm. Just in love with her, Spiller.
I love that you can fuck up Barry Diller's name.
Barry Diller.
That's fantastic for me.
And they just couldn't understand
Right.
how our show,
Right.
this piece of shit, this vulgar, crass, it wasn't Barry's. Barry liked duet,
Yes.
and he loved Tracy.
Right.
So that was a little weird, but
Yeah, I don't even
So-
know how you got it past Barry to begin with.
well, I don't know how I got past him because when I went in, I know this is true. He said to Levitt and Moye, he said, "Well, you've got the gal.
In
I
Peggy.
think you can do a hell of a lot better for the guy," meaning me.
Right.
And I think they said, "Look, we've seen everybody. We saw Kinnison, we saw John Goodman, we saw everybody,
Right.
and we're shooting next week. We like him," and they went to bat for me.
Right.
And Barry said, "Your funeral."
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Love feeding those back to him.
Yeah. But again, that's what he thought or something. But I had a very funny experience with him when I was doing Dutch. We shot it. It was testing, and by the way, it was testing well.
Because they weren't marketing it yet.
Yeah, it was testing well, and I had lunch. They brought me in because they wanted me to meet with the marketing guys. They had an idea, so I'm having lunch with them in the commissary, and no Barry, but all these marketing guys. There are 10 people at the table. We have a great idea. Over the holidays, Christmas, a bus and truck tour of the South.
What?
That's what I said. What? You and the kid. We go to all the small towns in the South because your trip it's a road trip, and you go to Mobile and all these towns. And I said, over Christmas. Yes, and we'll go into malls and a common approach. The people. We'll meet the people.
You running for Congress?
We'll pitch the show. And I'm thinking, do I have to do this?
Yeah.
And we had just ordered the Cobb salads, and before the food gets there, Barry walks by.
Right.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Hi, Ed. I saw the movie the other night. It's good. Thanks, Barry. What's going on? Well, and they're all, well, I said, they want me to do a bus and truck tour of the South to promote Dutch. That's the worst fucking idea I ever heard of. Do you want to do that? He says to me. I said, well,
No.
not really.
I want to
Well,
eat this
don't
Cobb
do it.
salad.
That's the dumbest fucking thing I ever heard. Walks away.
Perfect.
Now,
You were there with your Cobb salad in the marketing
and
department.
not a word. There's nothing left to talk
You
about.
can hear the lettuce crunch. That's how quiet it was.
It got very quiet. So, I went from somewhere to
SNL.
something. SNL, right.
Horrible.
So I agree to do it, and I'm terrified to do it. I'm very insecure about doing it.
Never did any improv, any comedy
Never.
sketch stuff?
Never.
Wow.
Ever.
Right.
So I go there with my wife, and of course it's traditional that you have dinner with Lorne Michaels the night before the show. Now, by the way, when I got to the rehearsal, you know, I come to realize they don't work till Thursday.
Right.
You know, they're writing back there, they're doing things, but they don't work. So,
They pitch you sketch ideas on
Ed,
Monday.
is there anything you want to do? Something
Yeah.
you think is funny? I said, not really. You know, you know, and this is like, you know, the names I'm going. You know, the guy that is not the governor, but the politician now. You know,
Al Franken.
Al Franken.
Oh, sure.
And you know, that crew, they had great girls then too. I'm trying to think of their names, but there were three of them that were very, very funny. So I go to dinner with Lorne Michaels and my wife, one of his favorite Italian restaurants, Theater Row, you know, down flight of stairs. Nothing to talk about with Lorne. We just had nothing to talk about.
Right.
And because, I mean, you know, my background was, I don't think would have interested him. I could be wrong.
Well,
but I
there's
didn't have anything to say. I wasn't Paul Simon. I didn't have.
Did you sense an airs of entitlement and royalty dripping off of his...
Didn't George Carlin call him a hands and knees cocksucker? I think he did. But that was prior to me. I mean, I didn't know Lorne. He was nice to me.
Right.
We just didn't have much in common.
Right.
And we got a nice meal, and I just said, I'm thinking, you know, what are they going to do with me?
Right.
Because they don't want to do the show. That's beneath them.
Well, of course.
Now, if it was a movie,
Right.
Deer Hunter,
Right.
with Chris, I mean, they're going to, you know, that's fine to go there. But Married with Children, they wanted to get away from that. Well, where do you go with me now?
No, you're not going to get there. You're not going to get there.
Doomed.
Yeah.
So I basically said, look, just write skits and throw me in them.
Yeah.
And they did, and you know, I mean, I did some with Dana and
Kevin Nealon, maybe.
yeah, all those guys, and Lovitz, and we did a thing on Chescu, and that was, some of them were pretty funny, but some of them were just, you know, I mean, it was me, and it was, I didn't enjoy it, and it was, you know, they go 24 hours, you know, you start rehearsing on Friday morning, and you don't stop till that show wraps on Saturday at
Midnight or
1 a.m.
Yeah.
and then you go drink. You know?
Yeah.
So it wasn't a pleasant experience for me.
Not something you're racing back to.
No, if I was Steve Martin or those guys that come in with that cachet they've got, and it was wrong for me.
Also, there was the expectation because you were so ridiculously funny on the show
Yeah.
that you're going to be ridiculously funny.
Yeah,
in
and I wasn't.
Anything they put you into. And if
No.
you're saying you've never really done sketch work
Never.
before, it's its own beast.
Yes.
It really is.
Yes.
I mean,
well, like what you just did at the top of this show. I couldn't do that if my life depended on it. Now, you may have that somewhere floating around, things you do and relate, and but that stuff, I don't.
What, the awful news thing?
The news thing.
That was improvised, but...
I couldn't do that.
You thought you couldn't lift that man off your chest.
Aha!
Okay.
Excellent point, Sammy. We've come full circle.
What I mean is that's, you recognize strengths and weaknesses, and
I have
mine.
I have this question for you. Does it feel like we've been at this 2 hours?
no.
Excellent. That's the
doesn't.
correct answer. And that's how I get you. Sometimes the guests will come ahead of time and they'll go, how long are we going to be in there? And I'll say, I try not to answer.
No, I
Because if I
enjoyed
tell
this.
them it's a 2-hour conversation, nobody wants to come in here.
No, I like to talk
It's
about.
just a conversation.
Yeah, it's just fun. Would have been better had we had a few drinks.
Yes. I sent the emails. Anything in particular?
No.
We'll go for drinks now.
Yeah, we've had a few
We'll
drunk
go for
guests.
drinks now.
It's been great.
I threatened you at the at the top about the Larry
Yes.
King game. You watched a few others. I'm going to reiterate it for you one more time.
Okay.
It is the bumper before
Right.
he goes to the phone. This morning I had Kellogg's, and it wasn't milk, it was bourbon. You know, what? Some little item about his life,
But
about
is
his
he
thing.
going to the phones? He's going
And
to call
then,
what's coming in.
At the end of it, he says, Schenectady, hello.
Oh, okay.
So that's just the button.
Okay.
And
I
whatever
think
funny city doesn't matter.
yeah.
That's your camera when you're ready, and it can really start from anywhere. There's no.
So yeah, okay.
correct.
So I thought of one little thing.
All right.
So he would say, "Next week, my wife and I are running with the Bulls in Pamplona, Kalamazoo, Michigan." Go ahead.
That's it. You did it. Fantastic.
Just the thought of Larry running with the Bulls.
I would like to see.
Yeah.
With my wife. My wife and I are running with the Bulls in Kalamazoo. Oh, I should have said Nawajack, Michigan.
Oh,
Nawajack's funnier.
I like Kalamazoo.
It's like Sid Caesar used to say. There was a skit he did, and they said there was a Ford. And he said, no, Buick. Buick is funnier than Ford.
Well, it's got a K.
It's got the heart.
It's exactly.
Words
got
with
the
a K
hard-
are funny.
Buick.
George Carlin said what about Lauren?
Hands and knees cocksucker. That's in his book, his last book, Last Words. I mean, you can read it. I didn't say it.
And they're not tales out of school.
It's a quote.
It's in the man's book. It's in the Library of Congress.
It's a
I
quote.
believe it is.
For God's sake.
I knew George a little bit, too. What a delightful guy. I mean,
Socially? Hung out a little bit?
almost socially. I mean, we did a couple of bits for him when he had a show on Fox.
Yeah.
And they called me, and we were
apartment building or
rehearsing
something?
Married with Children, and they said, would you mind, and you know me from getting in and getting out, would you mind staying after rehearsal
Oh, no.
and shoot a promo with George Carlin
Oh,
to
no.
help his show? I said, yes. They said, yes. I said, yes, I'd be happy to do it. So now George shows up, and he's talking about he was going to Ireland or something, with some Irish connection there. And he said finally, why would you do this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?
So nice.
And I said, because I like you, because I admire you. I just think you're wonderful, and that's why I'm doing it. So then I would see him from time to time, and I just always thought he was so brilliant,
Yeah. Oh, God, yes. And prolific. That was the other
Yes.
mind-boggling thing. It's
Yes.
one thing to be brilliant, but to have 17 hours of material was inexplicable.
Yeah.
And it's probably 37 hours by
Yeah,
the time
never
it was-
not writing.
You know what?
Yeah.
He's the
Always
one.
said that.
He's the one that said, I never forget. You know how he was great. He was a wordsmith, right?
Oh, boy.
And he would say, and you probably heard him say this, but it's the one thing I remember that he said, and he'd say, what in the fuck is a semi-boneless ham? I mean, if you think of, right? I mean, that kind of mind, you know?
Yeah. Yep. There.
It's not my mind, but I appreciate it.
Yeah. And then the last question is, will we see Sammy back on the show? I know you're not in charge.
If I have anything to do with it, he'll be back on the show.
That's
I really
correct.
do think he was
That's
wonderful.
the correct
and I would
answer.
love to go back and visit him for some other business purposes, Be great. Anyway, this was a pleasure,
Kids
Kevin.
Got Talent. Thank you.
And I told you, as I reiterate, I'm a huge fan of yours. I always have been.
Well, I've always admired your taste
Thank you.
and intelligence.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. We're going to end this on John Lovett.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Acting!
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And he used to do it with Lithgow, too. That
Yeah.
I wanted to do that. I said, let me
Right.
do the
Master
the
Thespian.
Master Thespian. And they said, well, that's Lithgow's thing. I said, so what? Let me do it. It was the only thing I could think of. And then, oh, by the way, one other story before
Sure,
we go.
please.
We can be off we can end this.
No, we don't have to.
Walken
I'm
followed
thrilled.
me. Walken followed me, and I believe it was his first one. He did many, He was great on that show.
Yeah,
Chris,
SNL.
On SNL. Now, he came in, and he came on the set while I was rehearsing.
To
Just to stop by. I'm doing it next week. Oh, hey, Chris, how you doing? Yeah. And apparently, they have that meeting at the beginning of the week. Have you done that show?
I've never been.
No. Well, anyway,
they
it's a
pitch out the
Monday.
sketches,
And Lauren, starts the ball rolling on a Monday.
and all the writers
And
get this.
introduces the guest to everybody. And this is, and Chris apparently was in the back with sunglasses on. And he may have been smoking something prior to.
And this
who
is
knows?
when he's hosting.
He's hosting.
Right.
I'm gone a day or two. And he's sitting like this. Now, Lorne Michaels told this story to me and later, and he said, never said a word. And then finally, Chris Walken is our guest host, and everybody applauds. And Chris, is there something you'd like to do? Is there something that you find amusing and that you'd like to try? Do you know the story?
I do.
He said, well, bears are funny. Likewise, bear suits. And that was it. Likewise, bear suits. Bears are funny.
Beautiful alliteration.
You would do that.
Yeah.
It's not wrong. Bear suits are hilarious.
Bears are
Likewise,
funny.
bear
Likewise,
suits.
bear suits.
It's in Jay Moore's book, that story.
Yeah.
Jay Moore wrote a book on it.
And that happened 2 days after I had left New York City.
Yeah.
And it was like his third time, Walken's third time hosting. He finally got a sketch on where he was in a bear suit, and it killed.
And then, of course, he did that Mr. Belvedere. What was
The
it?
Continental.
Oh,
Yeah, the
God,
Continental.
it was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Champagne.
Oh,
Have some champagne.
I'm so crazy about
Yeah,
him.
I know.
I'm just crazy about him.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, this was great.
So we'll go for drinks. We'll go to Shay J up the street, right?
Sure.
I want to. Oh God, it's so funny. 2.5 years, and then you take 2 months off, and you literally forget how to do the fucking thing.
Wow.
I think it'd be like riding a bicycle.
Yeah,
Or
it
roller
should
skates.
be. It should be. I'm so happy to be back. I want to thank the whole damn crew. You've got Dr. Chen here in the studio out there, beyond these hallowed walls in a much larger space, or so it feels. You've got your J-Mac. Let's hear it for J-Mac. How did the Stillers do? Tied, not good.
Whoa. What is it, third quarter?
Fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter.
It's not good.
Well, we got to get out of this.
Now we got it. That was overtime. We gotta go.
Tebow can win in overtime.
Well, because he's got Jesus.
We're going to wrap this up.
What'd they say?
And Josh Negrin's out there, and Justin Weiss, and maybe Brendan's out there. I'm not sure. Samantha Ward, our fabulous makeup artist. Sam and Jamie, thank you both. Adam, the intern. You know, it's so funny that when I saw Adam today, I was so tickled because I thought, maybe he's got really serious with school and he's not going to be able to come back. We got an intern. You never know if they're going to stick it out with you.
He probably doesn't go back till tomorrow.
No, he says he's been back and he hates
he
it
has been
already
back?
because it's just the straight
Well, I don't
up.
know why he's wasting his time furthering his education. He should learn a trade.
That's right, honey. It's 2012.
Sell a shoe.
Love Adam, and thanks for being here, and please don't leave. And next week, as we said, the Davy Krumholtz. And then
Krumholtz.
Krumholtz, and then we've got...
He's one of those names that you just want to throw your fist up and be
yeah,
like, Krumholtz!
You should be our nemesis. Check the schedule, the calendar there of upcoming guests. We've got more to add to it. It's gearing back up full time. Allegedly, I've been saying this now for just about a year. Launching on Hulu.com in the coming days, if not weeks.
We're paying somebody to work on it, so it's got to be gone.
Yeah, I've paid enough to have this thing happen, and now it's time. And further discussions with the fine folks over at Revisions 3 who insist that they want to bring us over there as well, and I think they're going to possibly, or if not probably, going to be with us in San Francisco, or so they insist.
We'll 100% be there.
Sammy, you will be there. I want to announce that. Anyone coming by the San Francisco area the weekend of January 21st, Sunday 22nd, we're going to do the show on the Saturday the 21st, and then stream it on a regular time slot of Sunday, 3 o'clock West Coast time. But it's only the second time. It's our second annual live in front of an audience. Mm-hmm. Last year we did it with Adam Savage from the Mythbusters, which was incredibly fun. So good look at online for Sketchfest.com.
Sketchfest.com,
Yeah.
I think Punchline probably, you can get
Punchline has it as well. If you want to get tickets for that, we're going to do only the second time ever live in front of an audience. Also part of the new digs, we're
I
allegedly...
got to lose more weight.
Oh, Jesus. Allegedly, we're going to be doing a show or two here in front of an audience. We're still working out the seating arrangements for that, so stay with us and as more information comes in. Thank you for coming back. Those of you that have and do, and follow us and download us on the iTunes and whatnot, we're excited to be back. I'm not going to lie and say the 2 months off wasn't fan-fucking-tastic.
I enjoyed having my Sundays back.
Yeah, it was strange to have nothing to do on Sunday. But it also allowed me some time away and to refresh just how much I love doing this. And I hope you'll continue to stay with us out there.
I have worked every Sunday since I think like 1999.
Aw.
It's I can't remember. It's the worst. It's Sundays my least favorite.
You really want.
I always hated Sundays, even like growing up as a kid, because it's like, you know, Friday's great, Saturday's great, but Sunday it's like, oh, I didn't do that chemistry homework. I knew I should have done it right when I got home from school on
Sunday's
Friday.
the ultimate 11th hour. It's always the 11th hour.
I could never enjoy a Sunday because in the back of my head it's like, I gotta go to school.
But you got to hang out here again. We had someone come to the show last night. She said, I'll be in the chat room with Jamie on Sunday. Did she make herself known? Might be Twishy Shoe Poo or something?
Yes, Twishy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Twishy Poo. So thank her for joining us. And we have set records. We have set records. The show was an hour 50. The wrap-up was 47. All right, we're going to close the show out as Albert Brooks. I'm going to ask you to stay tuned across these many stations across the country and the world. Next up, Sammy and the Dancing Bear. All right. We'll see you next week. Until then, and as always, get out of my face.